When I first seen the first alien statue or piece of artwork from Mexico, my buddy tried telling me it was 10,000 years old, and there was people researching this, and it was true. And I laughed at him. There was no way I could believe that this stuff was coming out of the ground, looking like this. There were so many things that contradicted everything that I'd ever been taught. And so I began to ask questions 3 years ago. And the questions have been asked by not just myself, but many, many collectors and people in the scientific community trying to understand this. The parts of Mexico that it resides in are very dangerous. This here is found right near the pyramid there in Tula Hidalgo. And that you can literally, if you take the camera up out of this cave and hold it up, go about 8 feet in the air, you can literally see the monument. It's not far away. And so this type of stuff here is at the 14-foot dig level, and it's absolutely insane seeing this on the walls, and the type of iconography, the amount of pieces that they found that match the pieces that they've been selling to us for the last few years. The stuff that the government said was fake, the stuff that we could legally buy and sell because it wasn't real. This is what they're showing me in terms of where they're finding it and what they found. This is a complex that's absolutely, I have no words to really explain to you how ridiculous this is. There's been so many naysayers and so many people who have doubted the entire project in itself. It's like you want to go tell these people that you're proud of what you found, but at the same point, knowing this is the truth becomes far more complex. And what we're seeing changes everything in the respect of God and religion, and the amount of misinformation and deception that we constantly battle in our world. It makes a lot of sense knowing this is the truth.
All right. How's it going, folks? The Lord of ORD is back. The 14 Digital Shaman. And with me, we got Mike for aliencarvings.com and MacDaddy, my friend Eddie. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
This is awesome. Before we get going, I'm starting to make this a habit with my guests. Mike, did you think about your top 5 favorite books?
Yeah, absolutely. These aren't going to be in any specific order because that's really too challenging for me. But
absolutely.
But the Keys of Enoch, the Book of Knowledge, the Pistis Sophia, the Long Hard Road Out of Hell, the Lost Book of Anki, and the other one. Well, I'm going to give you 4. Those are. I'll think of it here in a second. Yeah.
The Long Road Out of Hell. I never heard of that one. What is that about?
Yeah, it's a biography that goes back in the early career of Marilyn Manson and Trent Reznor of 9 Inch Nails.
No kidding. That's pretty interesting. 9 Inch Nails. Nice.
Yeah, music's been a big part of this for me, and so the things I used to be attracted to in music are becoming more and more clear of why I liked these things.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. I was a musician back in the day myself, so
right on.
It means a lot to me. So at least it used to. I'm getting old, so it's not the same thing anymore.
Never too old for music. It's kind of maybe change the way you do it. I think that's the thing. You look at that guy. He just put out that album with the flutes. He used to be a rapper, and I think that's the thing. People hold back on their musical output because it's not the headbanging thing it used to be, or it's not the whatever, so it's hard to evolve with it, but it's something that does evolve with you as you go through life.
For me, it's kind of devolved. It's now just I've actually just started figuring out how to play the acoustic guitar finally this summer. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, I wrote songs with it back in the day. But anyways, let's.
Sure.
So this is the website, folks. Aliencarvings.com. It says they're the largest gallery of mysterious Mesoamerican alien carvings anywhere. Independently researching carvings depicting Egyptian, Anunnaki, aliens, genetic manipulation, and more. And I gotta say, Mike, it's been a pretty wild road this week, me looking into this. And you know, what possessed you, dude, of all things, to get involved with this?
Well, I've been attracted to rocks my whole life. My grandfather was a miner here up in the gem state of Idaho, and so he had specimens of jade and opals and things. So I've collected and gone to rock shows my whole life, and so I collect carvings as well of different specimens, citrines and quartz and you name it. I've got a bunch of different carvings from Vietnam. Everything was modern, of course, and but always been something I've been passionate about. And a good friend of mine went down to the Tucson Gem Show, and there was a vendor down there, an archaeologist named Mark Russell. And he sold my friend a carving from Abuelos de Jalisco. And he said he was down there and he found these out of the ground, and that they've done carbon dating and they were 10,000 years old. And I he redirected this information to me when he got back, and I was blown away with the work. I was impressed. I wanted to buy one just to have one. And so, nonetheless, I started to kind of look into it. I didn't believe what he said. I laughed at him. In fact, I made a wager that I could prove to him that this was being modernly recreated. And I set out to do just that. And I spent, a good 3 to 4 months trying just to figure out, where it was coming from, isolating sources, buying pieces from people. I started looking on eBay and just trying to get different sources. I tried to reach out to Mark Russell, but at the time it was really tough to get in contact with him. And little did I know he had actually been kidnapped and was being extorted. And
Say
this
what? What?
yeah, by the Mexican mafia down there, and he was basically shooed out of Abuelos de Jalisco. He was the first person to bring these pieces on TV. Scott Woltar, he's a forensic geologist. He did the show America Unearthed on the History Channel. He had Mark on, and they did carbon dating and SEM, electron microscope testing, etc. They found dates of over 10,000 years old. They said this was going to change history, and that's where the show left off. Well, Scott Woltar's show did not get renewed by history, even though their ratings surpassed Ancient Aliens. And eventually, 2 years after, he finally reached out to history and said, "Hey, what's going on with this show? You never really said anything." And they said, "Well, Scott, your show is just too smart for history right now." And so it's really it's an interesting topic. As I started to research this, I figured I could easily disprove it, and I started reaching out to labs, universities, people, alien ufologists, different people in the scientific community, geologists, trying to get just to be able to just debunk it. I just wanted testing done to show, obviously this was being modernly done, and it was like near impossible. And so, I just kept building a sample collection. Eventually, I knew I was going to get testing done, and we found bone specimen inevitably. And that really intrigued me a lot to see a skull come out that's unknown. I had Scott Woltar, the host of America Unearthed, there. He said he would get DNA testing done and everything for us. I sent him one. Actually, I donated one to him, and he found the same resistance that I did in terms of getting testing done. And they shot him down. Like we it's I've had to go outside of the United States and North America to get carbon dating done on this skull. I'd have a lab from France come and fly in to take samples and fly it back to France to test.
Can you well, since you're there in your gallery, if I go you solo, can you show us what the skulls you're talking about?
Yeah, I got a few of them here. Yep, absolutely.
By the way, if you're still there, Sheldon, thank you for joining. I haven't seen you in a while, my bro. And Mike, MT Paranormal Life. If you're still there, thank you for joining us. And Mike, he's got a YouTube channel, and he is doing excellent research with Bigfoot researchers and proving the high strangenesses in the woods in Ohio. So thank you for joining us, Mike. So the skull here, okay, does anybody have any idea what this comes from?
Well, we've had numerous bone experts look at it, and what's interesting is they're all very unique. Here you can see in this picture here how,
And they got carvings in it too, so we can see that as well.
some
That'd
of
be
them
awesome.
have carvings. Yeah, and if you look at this skull that's on top of this, you'll see this type of being depicted here with this flat top of head with a squid looking face coming down off of it. And what's interesting is this has a lot of interesting holes at the bottom,
Love life.
and they're all very unique. You see this squid character in a lot of different depictions from both places. Now, we as I was researching this, where's this other piece? Oh, right here. As I was researching this, the first pieces I found were like this here from Abuelos de Jalisco, and that's where Mark Russell was doing his research. And these pieces are complex. They're like mosaics with different stones cut into squares to make these shapes.
Now, have you tested the stones? When you say they're stones,
Yes.
are you 100% sure they're stones?
Absolutely, yes, they have. And in fact, the lab that we inevitably found in France required us to do a stone test before they would even do a carbon date, because if they're going to put their name on something like this, they wanted to absolutely be sure of everything. So they were very, and it was $1,800 just to get one of these rocks tested by them. But yeah, no, we now have the skull is sampled, and we'll have the results. In fact, I just spoke with the guy today, and he said sometime shortly after Christmas we'll have the results. So this year for sure.
It's almost like a hieroglyphic, but almost cartoonish in nature too.
Yeah, that that's the weird thing.
What kind of is that, stone or is that? But the reason I'm asking that because there's clay polymers, there's plastic.
No, you can see the
polymers.
inclusions here. It's definitely stone, no question. I mean,
This feels pretty heavy, does it?
Oh yeah, everything is rock hard. You can see here, like this is one that we use for lab samples, and so we've took off the pieces. Here's one laying here.
I guess Sheldon asked, what kind of stone in particular? What kind of stones are they?
It really depends. Like as you can see on a mosaic here, there's this reddish type. There's a white stone. There's there's quite a few different types. We know certain ones, like this is a serpentine jade piece here. Obviously this is a calcite skull. This is a quartzite, which is calcite and quartz together. This cup here.
So that's pure quartz, and then we have to ask the question: how in the hell did they shape that, and how did they drill a hole in it?
Yeah, here's one for you.
Without it shattering.
Here's one of the whistles that's quartz, which this one isn't as impressive in my opinion as this other one over here. Oops, not sure.
Well, sometimes the ones that aren't all that impressive are the ones that are have the greatest meaning. So is it a pipe?
No, it's a whistle. Yeah, here you can see in the eye. There's
can you blow in it?
There. Yeah, of course. Here. Hang on, let me flip it around.
That's amazing.
Right?
I mean,
yeah, even this big skull here is a whistle too,
The tone and everything's very nice. That's very. So, yeah, I mean, Mike has so much stuff here, folks, and he's like so used to it. He's like plowing through and we're like, whoa. Which one was that? Which one was that? The skull one. All right. What
Yeah,
is
both these
what
skulls
what
are.
are the design on the skull? Is that his a phallic symbol? Is that supposed to be his penis, or is that what is that?
Yeah, I believe so. There's quite a bit of depiction of that sort of nature on these pieces.
Sure, well, sure, because if has anything to do with the priestcraft, and what are the most important things in
Look at this one
and a
still
man
hanging.
and a man and woman's life is birth and death, and sex is involved with it, right? So
Yeah, definitely another time.
yeah, it's not really that far fetched. It's not really all that strange. There's
This
you
one's
know
strange here. This scope is a functional magnified piece of fluorite. Oops, let me get a better
well,
zoom.
which just begs the question, because anybody tried to look at Saturn with the naked eye, good luck in seeing the rings. So if they
Right?
knew about this, and it's truly the ancient, as you're claiming, then that means they had some way of looking much further
And
into the heavens than their naked eye. So
you can see this lens here on this scope. There was one found in Saudi Arabia called the Narubi lens, and it's been dated at over 4,000 years ago. And it's a very similar. They're made of fluorite, so it's definitely took some engineering to get that in there. What this one here is a concave lens, so when I move up, it moves down and side to side, the opposite, etc. And
I mean, those bones. I mean, those bones. I have a hard time believing to be made out of polymer clays. That's for sure. And I'm trying to
no, they're
figure out.
definitely
I
bones.
mean, I
What's
looked into
interesting,
the bone,
the
like whale bones, and their vertebrae and all that. And none of that looks like whales. I don't know
it's
what
definitely got a
animal.
skull. There's suture lines, and here you can see the suture lines here. Uh,
Did anybody come to a close possibility? I
the
mean,
closest thing biologically on this planet that we have is a cow, and the thing is if you were to take a cow skull, which would come out here to a point essentially, and you were to cut it down somehow and shave all that, but the bone experts, when they examined it, they said this occipital bone right here would shatter 99% of the time. They said they've never seen a cow skull cut open with that. And then when they took and they did they snapped a piece off, and it said how much pressure it took to break it, and they said that the strength of it was much stronger than a cow skull, and also the weight. I mean, this thing is extremely lightweight. I mean, I wouldn't even say it weighs a pound. So
yeah.
it's definitely not a typical species that we have here.
How's it going, Sasquatch Confessions? Sasquatch Confessions says we're watching this on TikTok Live.
Nice.
Nice. Yes. What is that now? What are we looking at there?
This is like like a some sort of like liquid holding thing, like a creamer, or something. I don't know. What's interesting to me is it has OZ on here, which I didn't fill it with water or anything, but I mean that would be quite something if it was a 1 ounce measurement. It's
Uh,
quite the piece.
yeah. What are the symbols on it? Before we went live, we were looking at some a few interesting pieces too, in which yeah, that we'll get into it, and because there seems to be a seemingly dark side to all this,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
but it
and
seems
that's
to all
just
be
it.
that.
There's light and dark. I
Right,
see
right,
both.
right.
Oops.
So this all CNI, this is interesting. If this is ancient, this is predating the Jesuits and Jesuit cathedrals in Europe, or then we have to ask ourselves, where did the all CNI come from? The triangle with the eye in it.
Why is it on our money? Why the Freemasons were so big about it? Um, there's a lot to be said here about it in Egypt as well. The fact that it's in the
No,
shape of our
it's a really weird shape. What is that made out of? Is it stone?
this is a rock here.
Is it
And what's
drilled
interesting
through?
about this piece is I got this ball for really, really inexpensive because it didn't have a base or anything. It just rolled around. And then about 2 months later, the guy messages me and he found this base. They were
Hello,
digging in the
Indy.
same area. And so he just,
Indy is with us as well, Eddie, and yeah, there you go. Indy knows a lot about Egypt. She does a lot of study about that.
awesome.
It's a shame we can't get her to jump up here. She has a lot to share.
So you can see here, this is Isis breastfeeding an alien. And you can see the alien species here in front of her. She's obviously a giant. And I think that Isis was the divine mother for multiple restarts. And it wasn't just our version of Adam, but this is a
Well,
previous Adamu or race that lived prior to Adam, essentially.
so ISIS is that particular part of the world, obviously being Egypt and the eastern part of the Mediterranean and Levant, but that doesn't mean that the people in the Americas were calling it ISIS, right?
Yeah, and I mean she's depicted clear as day. I'll show you another piece here with her.
So who is? Do you guys remember who ISIS is?
Well,
Here, I'll pull this
my
out.
Mike, think about this, right?
Yes.
The Genesis,
Genesis, yeah, that's the generations of Isis.
And there's a strong argument that the crescent of the world, the Fertile Crescent, never was in the Mediterranean, but was in the Gulf of Mexico, in which this stuff is coming from northeastern Mexico, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so that'd be that part of the Fertile Crescent, if you will. And although it's a very high desert area where the stuff has come from, doesn't mean it always was that way.
Yeah.
And well, there are like we talked about earlier, there's the Pyramid Lake. I believe that's in Nevada, right? Or is it in California or Nevada, where it is? And apparently Pyramid Lake is also an ancient, very old looking sphinx outside on the edge of the lake.
Interesting.
And there's a lot of arguments and some pretty suggestive evidence that there's been pyramids and massive pyramids in the Grand Canyon and other places in North America. And then, so, where did life really begin? You know what I mean? Where did human civilization really begin? We're told that it all came from
dust.
The little, well, in I'm trying to say here, Babylon. What's the name of it? The river Euphrates, that area. That area, where I can't think of it right now. But anyways, it's that area in Asia Minor, but it's high probability there's a little bit of a xenophobic bias. I'm not using the right word here. Prejudice because of Western civilizations leaning towards the Bible and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that in end day it's the accurate truth. And who's say stuff?
I would say that anything written down on paper is like a game of telephone, and man is incapable of preserving the truth in a game of telephone. It is a fact from early on in childhood all the way into adult life. It is impossible to preserve the truth. And so for us to sit here and read and think that what we're reading is 100% fact is asinine. So the reality is I'm sure maybe half of it or more is real. I think half of maybe all cultures have something of the truth that we really should learn and we really should respect, but don't take anything for a grain of salt at this point that's been written down.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, me and Eddie know that quite well. We've been doing some study together, and so we know it. By the way, Indy or anybody else who wants to join us in the group conversation, where I'm going to share a link. If you follow the link, you can join in the conversation. But we'll try to kind of focus on what Mike is sharing. Just try to do that. So, because Mike has a lot to share, and almost so much time in the night. So look at that. I mean, look at this thing. What the heck is that? Now let's talk about. Oh, look at that. Is this a 8-pointed star?
7-point.
7-pointed star.
Yeah.
Is it the Rosicrucians that have the 7-pointed star? I can't remember.
The Vatican has one in Saint Michael's there, or Saint Peter's rather, on the floor.
They do. Oh, that's interesting. There's the medicine bag. I call it the medicine bag. This is the same that
and he's reaching into a portal too. Look at this.
Is it got something similar to the Babylonian, the winged god? Yeah, look at that. But it's so. My theory is those bags that you see. That's where they had their drugs, and it's a symbolic of using the hallucinating drugs to cross over to the other side. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, and what they had then might be completely different than what we have now. You know what I mean? In terms of how they were able to, that we find a lot of incense burners. We have had tests done. I'll show you an example here of resin from pipes that were smoked out of. And this came back over 10,000 years old.
All right. Well,
but no cannabis.
Only thing I ask of you, I know, Mike, that you're like so used to this, and you're a high energy dude. If you could just slow it down a little bit, so the rest of us can see what you are seeing. You know
Absolutely. What I mean? No, I apologize.
No, it's understandable. So, is there a UFO in there as well? Is that where that's supposed to be? Yep. A symbolic of the UFO? So this is interesting, and then it's got that lettering, that hieroglyphic lettering. Did anybody be able to determine what that is? I mean, what language or what?
So this language is really bizarre. There's no repeating anything. We've identified over 10,000 symbols. It uses interesting geometry. It's not just wrote simply by any means. There's something in it. But what's
in the bottom of the language there? Is that what is that? What is that?
It's an alien or a different species, I should say, with his hands in his pockets type of pose.
That's weird. That's interesting.
Yeah, they often look up like that. You'll see
there's the alien thing. And as you say, is that a flute as well, or
no? It's a pipe.
Oh, a pipe.
Yep.
And then I think I heard you once say that primarily they were smoking tobacco mostly from there.
Yep, tobacco and other herbs, but nothing psychedelic that we could see of anything, ayahuasca type vines or any DMT, I should say, or whatever. So.
Well, then there's the coca leaf too, though, and I'm sure it was traveling to that part. I mean, it's not that far away from.
Yeah, but I don't know if they would be smoking that. I think they would be chewing it, probably.
Chewing it.
There's no real bonus for smoking it, unfortunately.
So and we have this pyramid and this kind of obelisk symbolism going on again as well.
Mm-hmm. Quite a few obelisks depicted. Like, look at this little scene here, for instance. This piece is a tall obelisk, and this comes off of here.
Now, where's all this stuff once again coming from, so people have an idea that are joining us?
This piece here is from Tula Hidalgo. It was found, if you're familiar with Tula Hidalgo, or if you're not, it's the monument, or it's the city where the monument is there. It has like the flat top pyramid, and it has the statues all lined up, and that some of them have handbags. They're called the Atlanteans, of all things. And yeah, those statues.
Is this what you're talking about right here?
You got it. See that pyramid right there, the second image? these pieces are found about 1,500 meters from that. If you look off into the distance, you'll see a concrete fence that goes around the property of this monument. And on the other side of that, it's potato farms. And the potato farmer, his dad owned a property, and they've been tilling their fields and finding pieces for years. And so, they'd turn them all into the INAA, and they found all kinds of stuff. Well, eventually, they wanted to see some of the pieces and show their new son some of the culture that they had found or that their grandfather had discovered. And they made them feel like absolute peons, that they didn't have any of these pieces and that they were liars. And they complained and all this stuff. Well, it kind of just settled in a, yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. And so the guy that owns the land, he agreed to have Gen 6 Productions, who is a gentleman, Steve Quayle,
Yeah.
to come in there, who was filming a documentary down in Lake Quetzal at the time, to
Now,
come in
are
and
these
film.
statues the original ones you know of, or are these
Yeah, those are the originals. They weren't standing there when they came to this area. They were actually buried nearby. There's quite a bit of discoveries
no
and
kidding? I mean, look at
stuff, but they're
this.
actually pieces. They're four pieces that they stack on top of each other to
Yeah, you
make
can see
those.
it.
Yeah. And I
4
actually have
pieces.
one of these. They're made out of basalt, and you can see the red on the legs and on the body. They used to be painted. The Mayans likely painted them, and then the Spanish likely got rid of them. Anything depicting the handbag, the pine cone, the angels, the
I
giants
I
was
I I
destroyed.
I venture. This is the first time that I've learned about this place, and it's so close to us. I'm being honest. I never saw these statues before. Did you know about these statues, Eddie?
No, I did not.
No, and Eddie's, he's a lot closer to this area than the rest of us.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that they advertise too much. It is a pretty
Well, look
large
how
tourist place,
intricate.
but
Look how intricate it is. It really is much more intricate than say like Easter Island statues and all that. I mean, it's
yeah.
some.
And so what's
eh,
interesting is you see that breastplate where it's like that square piece of something.
That's right
When
here.
when they found the species there down in Nazca, Peru, those
These, no,
mummies that they
seriously, these
found,
rivaled anything from Egypt.
yeah, they're
I
on
mean,
a whole nother
I mean,
level
it's
for
basalt.
sure.
It's a different type of
All this stuff is
material.
ridiculous. I
But
mean,
shit, I didn't know anything about this place.
yeah. Yeah, Cambridge did a big write up. If you go look up Cambridge Institute Tula, you'll see in 2021 they did a really large readout, and they said that the Tula was 65 to 70% still buried, and it was an archaeological epicenter for the future. And that's what they
That's
said, and
that's
they weren't
amazing
lying.
synchronicity because I'm thinking the same thing. I've been thinking about this for a while that the center of the universe is going to be going to, of all places,
There's a
Mexico.
reason that we can't
Mexico.
dig. There's a reason they won't let us dig. I'm telling you that right now.
Right. I can just imagine. Yes.
It's not just every country in the world was like, yeah, we're going to take our sacred sites and make it to where you can't dig. I mean, it's
I
literally
mean,
everywhere.
doesn't that look like a fertile crescent? And then if you think about how actually fertile this whole area is,
Oh,
it's just some
yeah.
of the most fertile area in arguably maybe the most fertile area on Earth.
Yep.
And yet they want to try to convince us that it's the Mediterranean. So I just don't get it. Well, I do get it, but there's an agenda afoot. So
Yeah, no, it's complex for sure. It goes back thousands of years, and there's been many millions of lives probably lost over this topic,
amazing stuff, amazing stuff. And then the other place that you're getting this stuff from is from, I can't pronounce it. Maybe you can, or
It's a
Eddie can.
Abuelos de Jalisco.
Abuelos de Liscos, and I don't know crap about it. But this, I
And
don't.
the
Is
place
are
there,
do they have any
Abuelos, so
temples? Do they have any temples there or anything like
well,
that?
the place, so the city there is only about 2,500 people, and it's not actually found in the city. It's found in a mountain range just northeast of the city. And when you go over there, the first hill that's close to Abuelos is called El Toro. And El
Turkey.
Toro, which if you're familiar with ancient, cultures of the bull, in the Anunnaki, they had a winged bull, but the bull also
Sure.
represents other things as well. So it's interesting that they were taking these offerings and these pieces to this hill, and the pieces that we find around this hill are absolutely immaculate, just like the pieces in Tula that are found near the pyramid. They're immaculate. So it's like the closer you got to these sacred places, the nicer the pieces became. And we have people that also bring us pieces from other areas and further away, and some of them we rewrote off as false. Like we thought they were fakes because they were not near the quality of what we were used to seeing. But the reality was is that they were just not made in, for they weren't royalty, or they weren't high honored pieces that were going to get put close to where the gods were, or it was all in worship, it seems like. And in the Bible it says that the stone idols, that the people worship their gods with stone idols, and I think these might be the idols that they were doing that with.
And it seems to me that it's a universal theme that's going throughout Mexico, and that is these alien-looking beings and UFOs.
Yeah.
So it's not just in one particular area.
No, it's Mexico in the whole, and I found pieces from 9 different places. I'll show you these ones. Well, here, um,
Hold on a second.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hold on a second before you, because let's just look at some of this stuff first, and then
Mhm.
because this is not from your gallery, this is from other galleries, right? So,
Yep.
and so,
Yeah, I'm not the only one researching this stuff.
no, so that's to support what you're saying, that you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if I can blow this up any bigger for you guys to see or not. Let's see.
There you go.
There's a bit of an alien thing going on there, or a spaceship, I should say. Looks like they got Saturn going on. What is it? Just breathing out of this position? It seems to be universal.
That's the
Something
Chuck
going
Mole position.
shock mole position. What
Yeah,
is
it's a
that?
very famous thing in the like you'll find it at the Chichen Itza and at the temples in Mexico. The Aztec and the Mayan always depicted in the Chuck Mall.
And it seems to okay. So then we have these images of these spaceships, and they got these steps, like the step pyramids that the ziggurats. That's what it reminds me of. I'm not saying it's necessarily the case, but all of them have these like little steps things, and to me, it's suggesting that but a lot of people have been theorizing that those ziggurats, those step pyramids, were a place where things happened
Hmm.
interdimensionally,
We found a ziggurat
paraphysically.
with the Anunnaki. We have dig video of it coming out of the ground on our feed there. But I mean, it's a large ziggurat. It weighs about 180 pounds. It's 6 pieces, and it's got the sun disk on there and everything. It's crazy.
So I'm mixed here, like you, I'm sure, Mike. And in the beginning, and as time goes on, I'm sure things that kind of even become more convoluted. Just like so many things, just like say my Sasquatch research, because Sasquatch research, there's the hoax within the hoax. And the
Hmm.
article that you have on your website talks about this, a hoax within a hoax, and then there's the truth. And somewhere lies there's a truth somewhere, and I was trying to figure out which one. And I don't know if we're capable in our position where we're at to determine which is the hoax and which is the legit thing. But
Yeah.
what is interesting is that it seems to be a universal message throughout all of Mexico and uh, southern North America and Central America of these uh, UFOs.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't until I saw the cave get uncovered there. They filmed that documentary on the farmer's property, and they found bedrock, but they didn't have time to dig it out, and so it took a year and a half before they went back and redug that area out. And when they did, it opened up into this cave, and it's I posted it on my TikTok quite a bit there, but. I mean, you can see on the walls the same things that we're seeing depictions of, the same alien heads are depicted on the bedrock there. And I mean, this has
Yeah.
taken them. I have the full footage of it being dug out, and I mean, thousands and thousands of 5-gallon pails over the course of months and months of many people working to get where they're at. And I mean, there's just no way that they could have buried the 250 pieces that they found in this complex, let alone, all the way down to the 14-foot level, but let alone also put these carvings onto the walls for a hoax. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wish there was some way I could get you in here with me, Eddie, and read some of the stuff because I cannot read any of it. But I mean, look at that. I mean, we haven't even got to Mike's stuff yet, folks. Mike's got some amazing stuff in his own right. But the reason I'm sharing this, Mike, and Mike is being very patient about it and generous, is to support the fact that Mike's not alone in this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other people that are, looking into this and have evidence.
Oh, Dad.
There seems to be this is you notice it was looking. Can you see what we're looking at here, Mike? You notice circling all these areas where these what do they call that again? Not intrusions and abrasions, but it demonstrates as rock. What do they call that?
Yeah, just like like an inclusion of some form.
Inclusion. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm. So, because that's one of the things I'm thinking, because you can make something like this out of clay polymer or polymers and or mixed medias to kind of look like it, but it's an awful lot of effort to do it. And I'm not saying they can't do it. And I honestly think some of the best art in the whole world comes from Mexico. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. No,
So-
we've carbon dated pieces and found modern glue. Like, we know that these people are capitalizing on this. Just like when you have Gucci handbags and Rolex watches, when something's selling for money or when something's being found as treasure, they're going to knock it off and try to make their own, and so you have to expect that. The thing is the pieces that we do find that are knocked off are, little trinkets like this. This type of stuff is easy. But when you get into these complex mosaics with all this language and I mean, the language alone is just so it's deep.
Sasquatch Confessions wants to know, is these pieces for sale?
We do sell some pieces. If you go to our like our social medias, you'll see our link tree there, and there's a store link in there.
So
But not
you
everything's for sale. It costs a lot of money to research this stuff, and I have to buy full lots of things to get the pieces that I want. So a lot of times I'll get stuck with pieces that, I mean, are redundant. I'll have 4 or 6 of these skulls, and I mean, how many of those do you really need to prove a point? And that's where it's at. I mean, my wife is like, hey, you've got 2 bedrooms spilling over with artifacts. Let's get going here.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that some pieces are for sale.
Yeah, I've got
I know because
67 up there, and I have about 650 pieces total. So it's like a lot of it is for research and things that I could never put a price on
you ever
because
think
of what it
about
shows.
making your own museum?
Yeah, I hope someday that they'll accept it and allow it into a museum somewhere. If not, I'm
No,
going
I'm
to make
saying,
my own.
yeah, so I'm saying make your own. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes that's the best way to go about it. I mean, and that's a good way for you to generate income doing it by having your own. Sasquatch Confession says thank you for answering my question. So.
Oh, absolutely.
And I appreciate the fact that you said some were for sale and not all. That would be a huge red flag if you said.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
I'm like,
really
listen,
hard.
if this stuff is genuine and artifacts from the past, I mean, I would cherish this stuff. I would hold on to this. I would start a museum. I wouldn't be selling it. Well, then again,
that's what I mean. That's
each to
what
their
you're
own.
looking
But
at,
no, I
But I
think
mean, it starts stacking
people.
up, literally. Like, I mean, how many pieces can you really? I mean, it's been a serious research project. I mean, you really have to ask yourself, at what point do you start to sell some or start to refine your collection? Because, gosh, I mean, do you just quit buying them altogether? It's too hard. You
Or you
got to
start a
keep buying.
museum. You start a museum, and I think you could.
That's where I'm at. We
Yeah.
actually just talked with a hotel down in Las Vegas when we went down there a couple weeks ago for the Stairway of the Stars. event, and we're looking at doing maybe a gallery there at one of the hotels where we bring in 100 or 200 pieces and do some speakings and informational stuff, show the documentaries that have been filmed. I've got a lot of support and permission to show and do this type of stuff for these guys. We all are working together on this because that's one thing. Everybody comes into finding out about this and they want to take it and run with it themselves, that they discovered this amazing thing. But the reality is that the media companies and the way that the research and universities and Smithsonian and these institutions are ran, there's no one person that's going to be able to come out with this. I don't care who you tell and what they say, they're either going to get canceled or you are. And that's the way it's been for a long time with these type of topics. You'll see it with, you know, um, I won't go too far off topic, but you'll see it a lot. And I think there's something to that, but there's a lot of people really asking questions. And I think as a group, we'll finally get the truth because of that.
Yeah, yeah. Is it all right if I read some out of your and once again, Eddie, if you feel like chiming in, please. But I'm going to read this because this is in English, so I should have to butcher it too much. It says here, we are focused on education, facts, and overall scientific anomalies found in these carvings. We are not trying to authenticate this. This is modern or ancient artwork. We remain optimistic but skeptical due to what is at stake with the confirmation on these findings. What we do know is that there are over 30,000 unique stones, some big, some small, just from many places in Mexico and Mesoamerica. None replicated ever one of one, if I'm saying this right, even on the smallest. Unique pieces of incredible alien art made of stone and under a scope look carved by hand. However, electron scope shows it was not a chisel or a modern, how do you pronounce it?
Lapidary.
Lapidary tool. How these items were made is our biggest question. Carbon date often shows 10 plus thousand years old, which predates Maya and Olmecs of 5,000 years. Our goal is to honor the artists preliminary, our families who have fought for the integrity of these objects and preserve their history for us today. Also, the language they bear and the science of what seems to be geologically inconsistent phosphorescence emit, is that what it is, by
Yep.
over 25% of the crystal stones, ceramic, pottery, seashells, and bones. And so the only way, as far as carbon dating, we could possibly do that would be, you talk about glue, then there's the seashells, the bones. So if we could to carbon date
Yeah, the
those,
pipes with the resin.
the pipes, the resins.
Yeah, that's about it so far, though, that we've.
I guess I'll finish this up if it's all right with you. We look forward to hearing from others to help get a definitive reason as to why and how these objects exist. We want to explain why these stones glow the way they do with 385 to 395 nanometer UV long wave light, and to analyze these pieces with even further detail with 3D scans and microscope feeds. I think we feel advanced geology should show how they are able to quarry select so many stones, all that exhibit a consistent phosphorescence. The strange part to me when I found out about the UV reaction, I began to tell everyone I could. I told many of the families and sources of Mexico and U.S. alike, and found none of them had the knowledge of this reaction. So why go through the effort to make so many stones glow and not use it as a selling tool? We hope to find out these questions soon. Thank you for VI visiting. So
Yeah,
it's very interesting. This phosphorescence thing going on, and they didn't even know about it. The people that were selling this stuff to you or didn't have a clue about it. It's just that's
yeah,
really so.
yeah.
Then
I'd bought over 200 pieces and had no clue. And the pieces from Abuelos, they don't have a luminescent glow to them. And but the stone itself will glow. Here I can show an example, of what phosphorescence is versus what luminescence is, and it's really interesting. So you can see on this piece of stone here. Oh, maybe not that one. Let me find one that's better here.
Sasquatch Confessions and everybody, if you go at the
Yeah, here we
very
go.
head of well, here I'll just put it up again. I will give you guys a link to his channel where he's showing us in case you want to check out his channel, not his channel, but his website. So if you want to check out Mike's website, here it
So
is.
you can see on the left is luminescence where it's like staying even after I shut the light off. But this stone here is only for just a second and then it goes away. And that's a phosphorescent glow. That's a calcite specimen there. But this stone here that everything's made out of, you can see it's also phosphorescent. And this is the stone itself that's like this. And everything that they have here is like that.
That kind of looks Mesoamerican, that's for sure. Is that
Yeah,
supposed to be a chameleon or a tiger or
it's an alien.
that's an alien?
Yeah.
It's possibly an alien, like the alien. Some of these things actually look like they could have inspired the movie, The Alien.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll turn the light back on and show you something crazy here. So the xenomorph off of the Alien movie, is um, pretty famous. And I bought these green statues. They were just absolutely amazing. And
And these stones
you can
came
see
before the
here.
movie. These stones came here were here before the movie The Alien.
So you see on the back. I mean, that looks just like a xenomorph, right?
Yes, it does.
I seen this and I was like, this is all fake for sure. This piece has a wheel on it. It's got to be crap, That was my initial thoughts.
Well, they're endless. I mean, the longest highway that's ever made, ancient highway, actually is in central from central to well, it runs in Peru, doesn't it? From the length of Peru.
Yeah, yeah. I forget the name of it, but yeah. So it was when Gen 6 was filming their documentary that this piece was pulled out of the ground on camera. 70 pounds of calcite that looks the same thing as xenomorph. It was real hard to disagree with that after I seen that, and um, you really got to ask yourself where dreams and imagination come from, and what's populating that. Um, and they say if you
Yeah,
can
that's
imagine it, it could happen, right? And that's kind of crazy.
well, not only what is influencing the internal life of ours, and the dreams, the conscious, what's going on between our ears, what we envision, and is it,
Mhm.
because sometimes to me, it's very clear that a lot of times we are more aware of reality was in between our ears when we allow it to happen than when in the physical. You know what I mean? Going day to day, the mundaneness of our lives, to jobs, to going from
Absolutely.
work, and it's. I mean, we're compartmentalized wherever we go in the modern systems, the world. But where do our imagination truly come from? Is it even ours?
Yeah.
How
Well,
much of
and
it
you were
are
talking
orange?
about psychedelics earlier. You can look at this with tripping too, where sometimes you'll have bad fries and sometimes you'll have good fries. And people say to burn incense and to say prayers and stuff before you do these type of shamanic type adventures. Well, I think there's something to this, and I think the evidence is in the eye of Ra and the eye of Horus being perceptions of the right and the left hand side of the pineal gland in the brain. This portal inside our brain is a direct link, and when it's open, things can come through. The church does exorcisms still to this day, which is kind of crazy. But what if there's more to that? What if they know something we don't know? And so I think that's probability that this gland or this all-seeing eye, this connection, this portal. What's interesting with it is it's got calcite
Well, isn't
inside of it.
the all-seeing generally the universal symbol for creator, the creator God,
Right.
all
Yeah,
seeing. So
exactly. God and then his two sons in Genesis chapter 6, the sons of God who came down and had their way with the woman of man, the right hand being represented by Anki with water and the left hand with Enlil and air. Those
look
were
at
the
that
two
skull
sons.
next to it. Look at the skull next to it. And look at the top of the skull. And oh my gosh, it moves too. Eddie, what do you think? We got any thoughts? Where's Burn Eye, anyways? That's what I want to know. Where's Burn Eye? He's an
No,
hour
I'm
late.
I'm just as fascinated as you are. I mean, this is all new to me.
Um, okay, so why don't you share a little bit of what you? I asked Eddie to listen to some of the videos that you have posted on your website, and since they're in Hispanic language. Eddie, what were they saying? Eddie said in particular he was impressed with the interview, the young boy interviewing the older man. What did you get from that, Eddie?
Well, if you notice, most of the Mexican people, my grandfather who still lives in his mid 90s, that gentleman, they all look like Vicente Fernandez, right? It's like a common look in the Mexican culture, and um, in our culture, when we're speaking, we tend to be honest about you know things, and that video with the child or that young man and that older gentleman wasn't really I mean, it impressed me, but the one that impressed me the most was the very first one, where there's a woman speaking or narrating and talked about Atlantis being part of California, Arizona, and New Mexico. And it wasn't called Atlantis; it was called Aztlan. Um,
Uh-huh.
and it was a 3,000 meter area. And what I found very interesting was the reference to the Jesus character being linked to Inky.
Yep.
And I found that extremely interesting. Aside from, you know, I myself have had an experience with a light that followed me in the sky, and I've actually recorded in three different places. One being La Feria, Texas. One being Brownsville, Texas. The other one being Jacksonville, Florida. And I
Really?
saw
Interesting.
the, I saw, and I have recordings of the Jacksonville, Florida. Um, but I've always seen this orange orb looking like thing, and then it turns into some form of aircraft that's leaving a trail behind. And the one in Jacksonville, I have the videos of that one. That one was a little bit different because it was white, not orange, like I saw in La Feria.
You see
in
orange, were they
Brownsville.
like a circle? Or were they like a globe?
No, it's like when you're grinding metal, those
Ah, sparks.
sparks. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it looked like.
Interesting.
Um,
Sparks,
but
yes.
the one I caught in Jacksonville that I recorded actually was clear. It was more like the new videos that are popping up. You know, it looks like this white neon cloud exhaust is being left. That's what I saw. That's what I recorded it. So I don't know, you know, because like I said, this is all new to me. But the mere fact that that narrator linked Inky and Jesus, this Jesus character together, is has motivated me to pursue that,
Yeah,
because I have I suspect that she's probably right.
I would almost guarantee it. Yeah, and the
And
way
why
you
do
know too.
why do you
It,
guys say that?
well, because Jesus had a form prior to coming down. He was up in heaven, obviously prior. And if you look at the archangels, the one closest to God was Michael, and Michael and Anki and Enlil, Enki and Enlil, these brothers. You know, Michael's brother is Satan, or who became Satan. You know. And so the reason I can confirm this confidently is because of a biblical scholar by the name of J.J. Hurtak. He wrote a book back in 1973 called The Keys of Enoch. As you notice, that was the first one I mentioned as one of my favorite books. And he wrote this book about an experience that he had when he was working at the University of Berkeley as a professor in the Oriental arts. And he worked for Walt Disney's brother at the time. And he had an experience with a composer from India where he was biolocated with Merkaba. He was physically translocated off this planet into another area or another realm of dimension. And when he was there, he was greeted by Enoch, and Enoch gave him all this knowledge. Well, he's if you read his stuff and whatnot, it's absolutely insane. And nonetheless, I met him in Las Vegas for a second time, and I asked him, I looked him in the eyes, and I said, you know, what do you think the possibilities of Anki being Jesus are? Because this was a revelation I had, seeing this piece right here with the right and the left hand. You know, the right hand of God is Jesus, and the left hand is the Holy Spirit. And when Michael pushed Satan out of heaven, this became the Holy Spirit. That's why there's a ghost there, because he was pushed out. And so this is the water and the air, you know, it all clicked to me. And so when I
Hmm.
asked him that question, he looked me in the eye and he said, absolutely. And, you know, I asked their assistant of 35 years, you know, after I got back, I told her about this experience and what he said to me. And she was blown away because he's never said anything like that regarding the Sumerian stuff. And she's asked about it numerous times. She was blown away by this. And yeah, that I'm going to almost guarantee is the truth.
I'm gonna let you. Uh, please don't hesitate to respond, Eddie, because you're the one who's been thinking about this, and I have not been. So,
The complex
Yeah,
part is we have different deities. So we have all these deities. You had mentioned this when I first joined the room, and so these deities are the Nephilim, the creations of the angels. The angels are light bodies. They're what we see floating around here with no legs, right? And they create things and alchemy and all this stuff. Well, they also can put themselves. It says in the Bible, God has many names. So these beings with dog heads and bird heads from Egypt, and these beings like Marduk, the son of Anki, and Osiris, the first pharaoh, who was said to be 15 foot tall, and some of these characters were embodied incarnations of these gods or of these angels rather, and
so
and
is that
so
circle
that's
within a circle thing? Does that rotate? Does that move? Does that swivel?
it does. Yeah, here I'll show you.
Okay, I think that's
Yeah, it's really crazy seeing stuff like this. I mean, straight out of what Contact or Stargate. I mean, some of that type of stuff is wild. Yeah.
or of course in Ezekiel, the wheels within wheels,
Uh huh.
and covered in eyes.
And on a lot of these pieces, it shows these angels with the UFOs. And I actually have one coming right now that has angels holding on to the UFO like they're escorting it. And so I think that the UAPs and the UFOs that we see coming in and out of this dimension are likely creations of this heavenly race of angels, and they likely work in the physical dimension for them because they're light bodies and they don't work here. And so they used to use the Nephilim and stuff. And then I think when the transfer of the Old Testament to the New Testament, or the Old Kingdom to the New Kingdom came, Jesus planted his church supposedly there at the gates of hell in Mount Hermon, and that's where the Church of Transfiguration is. And so, if they were to come through him, or if they were to come from hell to earth, they would have to come through him rather. And so I think that, and him dying, he didn't just resurrect in the Bible right away. He went to hell first. And if you read the Pistis Sophia, which is actually Jesus's words to the disciples some weeks after his resurrection, I believe that he actually went to hell to take Satan's power. In there it says he took 1/3 of the fallen's power so that they wouldn't be able to succeed like they did in the past. And this Pistis Sophia, this book, it's something that's honored by the Greek Church, the Orthodox Church there, as well as the Vatican. They have this in their library. It's an honored text. Um, but what it says in there is, I mean, it makes the Book of Enoch look like child's play in this sort of sense because it's coming from the mouth of Jesus.
Allegedly, at least, right? Allegedly. Yeah, this is a sticky area to go down because
Oh yeah, there's no peace in the Middle East for a reason.
well, there's no yeah, but it's
It's a topic that's very sensitive because we've been put against each other, and there's many different experiments that were underway on this planet, and that's likely what Genesis is, the generations of Isis. There were numerous experiments underway to create what we have today, or who we are today. And in the gentleman's work that I was talking about earlier, JJ Hurtak, he speaks about, our purpose here is to inherit the things that the angels couldn't. We are essentially created to replace the angels. That's why the pact of 200 angels rebelled against God, because they didn't agree with having to watch over this creation to become their successor. And we are to replace them, because living the mortal life and having the threat of death gives us wisdom, and the wisdom is something that the angels could never inherit. They didn't have that because they're eternal. They never had the threat of death, right? So that's why we're in this state of duality in this lower realm. God, Mark Twain says it best, that God wrote every book of Satan's existence. And I think that's really important, because this whole full circle of what we're dealing with here on this planet, and why it's certain, it seems like all these bad things that happen to us seem to end up as good things in the end, because it teaches us wisdom. That's the point. That's where the whole 144,000 graduated, true-hearted souls will ascend as masters. They're going to be masters of new universes. The universe is very big. Ours is a very small little blurb, compared to what's out there. So we could be the training grounds of that, expansion into the universe, essentially. Did I lose you?
no, you did lose me. My son's
I'm just
next to
playing.
me.
No.
My son's next to me. I'm listening to you and listening to him at the same time. So, yeah, I don't know where it is, buddy. You should have it somewhere. Maybe it's in your room somewhere with all the rest of the stuff that's all over the place. So, yeah, it's interesting ideas. I don't know how you can verify much of what you just said there, but I know we see
You
it here.
can't.
So,
You know how you can verify it? You can prove that these objects are real. And if these objects are really real, then what I'm saying to you right now is probable, because it shows it on these pieces. And when they finally deter this language and they were able to depict that, there may actually be some proof to this. But what we have to understand is that this could be bullshit too, because it's written down. And just because it's on stone doesn't make it to truth. So what we could be seeing is complete.
That's my buddy here, Eddie, talks about all the time. Just because it's written, I mean, if it, if it's
Yeah.
written by man, doesn't mean, I mean, that you can't count on it to be true. You can
Uh-huh.
find this in science, you find this in religion, you find this in a lot of things. And it's one thing is man, the double-edged sword of man's imagination, right?
Yeah.
It's the creativity of man is an amazing thing, but also the double-edged sword is that we are probably the only creatures that in the physical plane that know how to lie and deceive and to manipulate. So
Yep.
everything else doesn't do that. It's only we do that we know of. So what else
Yeah. I mean,
interesting that reminds
actually,
me
no,
of?
that's not true. I've seen dogs do this, and then they feel guilty afterwards. Like they'll eat something right off the counter, and you look at them, and they're guilty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they haven't really deceived anything that said
They knew
verbally.
better.
They didn't say words. You know what I mean? They didn't
No,
say no
no, I
right
know
now.
what you mean. I know what you mean. You're right. In terms of constructive, yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Well, Chase, I can't help you right now, buddy. You have to go find out for yourself, buddy, where it's at. So you should know where it's in your room. So if you can't find it, maybe you should clean it. No, okay. So yeah, so what are we looking at here now, man?
This is
There's
a
all seeing
canister.
eye.
Yeah, this is a canister. It's a lid that goes on here. You can see it locks on.
Well, that's quite clever. Just that one. It is the little ag gadget there. And is that supposed to mimic wood?
Yeah, it's oftentimes either a pumice stone or a ceramic. Like on this one here, that we took apart. The reason we took this one apart is because not only can we verify the glue's age, but inside of here they used a ceramic piece, and so we're able to get a thermoluminescent date on top of the carbon date, which gives us a double date from the same piece, which is a lot
Now,
harder to.
now, is that like a perfect
Sorry.
sphere? Is that what that's supposed to be? A circle, or is it
It
just
is, yeah. Normally, before it was broken, it was a mosaic sphere. You can see they make spheres a
and
lot.
then you open it up, and so let's think about
Mhm.
the orb. When we open it up, there's an entity in it. And
Yep.
how many times have I filmed and others filmed orbs that had faces in them, heads in it? That's so interesting. Open that up again if you don't mind. That little, these little circle
Ooh,
ones.
almost dropped it. Hang on. These things are fragile. You can see here. This is little guy stands on here.
And there's another guy inside it.
Uh huh.
Oh yeah. So this
And this is a mosaic. This is all different pieces of stone glued together to create this sphere.
right. And by the way, Burn Eyes, he emailed me an hour ago, said he was going to join us, but he was in a live, but I guess he's wrapped up in the live. So just to let you know. So
Yeah, he'll get here at the very end, you know.
Burn Eye is he's the man. He's
But it's good. You
busy.
can see the manganese deposits and the natural aging of the ceramic. And then when we took it apart, it doesn't have any of that, which is a good sign, you know, because this is obviously protected from the oxidation. And
Now, is that the piece that you tested the resin or the glue to see if get a
yep, we're
dating?
testing the glue and the thermoluminescent ceramic on the inside. So we'll have two dates.
But I
What
just find that fascinating. If that truly is ancient, what's the date on it? Did it say?
we don't
The,
have it back yet, so
oh, we
that
don't have
that
that.
should be here before the end of the year. So.
So
But
that
if
should
it's
be
consistent with the other mosaics, most of the mosaics are between 10 and 15,000 years. The oldest one we found is
So you're saying within a
19,000.
week we should have an answer? Is that what you're saying?
Yep, exactly.
So
Same with the skull too. The
if
skull
if
test.
this dates back thousands of years, or even 100 years, um, and you have these orbs with spirits inside them, that says a lot. It says a
Yeah,
lot. It says an awful lot. We got here like the human sacrifice thing going on with the heart and the orb on top of it. And I have an image from one of the videos you have in which there's a knife, and it's one that the head's being severed, cut off, and then the other side there's a UFO showing up.
Yeah, you can see here this dagger. The guy is I don't know what he's doing here exactly.
Eating the
Um,
heart,
but he's holding a head with a knife,
or is he like
and his eyes are red.
drinking the blood?
They went to such extent as to cut different stones and glue them in for the eyes. Like those are inlays. Same with the lips. You can see it's not the same stone as what the head is made of. And even on this gem here, it's been glued in there. It's extreme precision, you know.
Right. And then look at that. And then there's the eyes, there's the orbs, the spirits, all in circles with those alien looking eyes. And I don't know, unless the people there are reading like, communion from Whitley Strieber. Uh, how do they know all this stuff?
Well, that's the gist. If this was some little hoax, you'd have to be extremely educated because certain things that are depicted are not depicted, very often. Like for instance, in Egypt, when you die, you have to weigh your heart against a feather in front of Thoth and Anubis in order to gain access to the afterlife.
Ah,
And which is crazy. You've got the feathers being weighed here. There's a keyhole, and then you've got the two sons of God with the all-seeing eye. Mercury and sulfur here for Lucifer and Enki, or Enlil and Enki rather. Um, it's quite the piece. This is one of my favorites, just because it really shows the depiction of something that I've only read about in Egypt.
right.
And same with like these games, for instance. Here, oops, sorry. These games are something I've never even. I don't know the rules to this. I've never seen anything quite like this.
Well, one thing, it's got pyramids in it. Oh no, it's got obelisks in it.
Obelisks and little tiny pyramid pieces here, yeah, or cones, I guess, rather,
And then
and pyramids.
what do the characters look like? Did they kind of look like priests, or
Oh, they look like fallen angels. Some of them,
oh, they got the wings thing going on? Okay.
and some of them are alien type. Others are,
Well,
you
if this stuff is if it turns out to be the old stuff, older
Mhm.
than say 100 years, I'm just saying 100 years, then you have a good idea where movies like the Alien, this concept came from.
Yeah.
And they must have known
Someone
about.
had some access somewhere, possibly like Spielberg, with what he has said and done. I'm gonna pull this out of here so you can see what's on this. It's quite the scene right here. It really shows the extent of what's going on.
So that one's very bizarre. It's got the wings, and then it's almost got like some kind of mask going on. What is that? A mask? A
Yeah, it
helmet?
seems like some of them wear helmets. In fact, I'll show you because I've got a 3D example. This is
And
obviously
there's
a
numerous accounts of people having encounters with quote unquote aliens, in which these aliens wear helmets or
so you can
spaceman
see on this
helmets.
one here, he's got that same type of screen. Let's see if I can pull this off of here. So who
I
knows?
had no
Same
idea you
reason.
wouldn't see this anywhere else. Huh. What was that? I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh, I was just saying. What was I saying actually? Oh, I believe to say that it's just the same reason our astronauts wear helmets. They can't breathe in this atmosphere. That it's possible that some of these entities couldn't breathe here or whatever.
Could be. There's a lot. There's so many questions. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's if you. A lot of us don't even believe we ever went to the moon, so I don't even know if.
I'm not so sure we have. Well, I think we've sent probes and stuff there. I think we've circled around the back of it. But as far as did that lunar lander land on that thing? I think Stanley Kubrick may have been the real moon lander.
You'll say it goes filmed in a
Stanley
Hollywood
Kubrick's an
basement.
interesting guy.
Yeah, he was, and he knew a lot about the occult. That's for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Yeah, people like Stanley Kubrick, The Clockwork Orange, certain things, they were connected on a different level, especially if you use hallucinogenics to watch them. The movies are on a whole nother vibe, and will show you things and do things to your mind that I still wonder how he knew about today. Like that movie is set up in such a way that, I mean, to be able to transmit that through film is just like you say, he's probably messing with the occult, you know.
There he
And I
was.
think
Yeah.
musically we see that too from certain bands. You know, that the whole saying that these rock bands sold their soul to the devil. Well,
Well, you
there
know,
might be some truth to that with certain songs and certain musicians. I don't know, but it's weird, you know. Aleister Crowley's work and what he discovered, well, it, it's all the war prizes from raiding countries and you know ransacking many cultures. And so I think what he had access to was unfiltered truth, and really ran with it, you know.
well, he came from a privileged family, high-powered Christian father that and
Hmm.
parents that you know. So he had, and then his Cambridge or Oxford, Cambridge, which was that he went to school, and then from there on, he just connection with people. So
Yeah.
I just got done reading a book about witchcraft from Seabrook.
Oh,
It's called Witchcraft something or another. How it influences our day, and so
we didn't just burn people at the stake in our town squares 200 years ago for fun. You got to really ask, like, what it would have been like to have your family member being, oh yeah, by the way, Jim's down there getting burned, he's a witch, you know. Like, wow, we really did that to people, you know.
yeah, I
There had
know.
to have been a reason.
Well, and a lot of times these people were innocent and they didn't do anything really except ask questions. In
Yeah.
particular, to challenge you know, Christianity and the Catholic Church, right, and the
Heretics,
institution.
yeah, or
So he called
heresy rather.
heretics for thinking outside the box and thinking for themselves. And let's be honest, you know, it's a historical fact that you know, this the Christianity set us back. It didn't move us forward,
Yeah.
and that's it's called the Dark Ages for a reason. So, and when you look at the, you know, what's supposed to be the Black Plague, in which was it 3/4 or 2/3 of the population in Western Europe perished from it, and
Hmm.
then the rest were. I mean, this is the same people that had, you know, torture dungeons and torture chambers in every city, and that says a lot about the people themselves. Now, saying that was stuff was going on in all other cultures too, but
Yeah.
some worse. But I can't imagine much worse than what was going on in Western Europe, to be honest with you. So, and,
Yeah, it's a
and
story.
it's really quite sad. It really is. And so, you know, these same people are the ones that are trying to control the narrative today, you know. You know, let's just talk because I know you brought up Gen 6. You know, a big red flag for me, bro, is these videos. I don't care how highly produced they were. Who cares how highly produced the information is what matters. And
Yep.
for $90 to get a DVD, I'm sorry. You know, here's another thing that's a red flag too. These people have been digging up this stuff for decades. How's come they can't just make their own short video to promote this stuff? Well, why do we need to
They
have
do.
Steve Quayles of the world to do it?
No,
You
they
know,
do. I mean, that's
you,
the truth. But it's so easy to get censored or shut down. You know, Steve Quayle came in, and yeah, I mean, he charges a lot,
I
and
don't trust him, man.
the
I know the
wacky.
guy. Do you know him? Do you know Steve? Do you know Steve?
I've never met him personally. I've
I
never even
don't.
spoke
I
to
don't
him
like.
before. But I'll tell you what though, what he did was funded something, and he got answers back, and the proof is in the pudding, like you say. It's, I mean, it doesn't matter, you
So,
know. It's
so
just
did you when you
it's
watched?
4.5 hours of video, and it
Did you
shows
watch
you.
the video yourself?
Yeah, I have it. I mean, I definitely have a little watch party with you if you want to see it, because You'll
There-
definitely have a respect for it, for what he did, and the price. It's $50 if you want to direct download it. So,
yeah, let's
um,
see. You know, are you on Discord?
yeah.
You hear that, Eddie?
I did.
So
So
I think
I mean, it is what it is. I'm good friends with Jesse, who's the person that does their antiquities and stuff down there, and the guy that did all the digging and arranged all the stuff. And no, I mean, there's I have hundreds of videos in my feed that are submitted from people, and you want to know what's the truth is
if you're
that
really serious about that, let us had an opportunity to watch that video. I want to see them. I want to see them digging this stuff up. If I see
have you looked
them,
at our feed on TikTok?
yeah, of course I have, and I have some of the videos that from TikTok that
Yeah,
uh,
well, there's
I've
a good.
copied, I've mirrored, and some of them we can actually watch here. So yeah, but I want to watch the full dig. I want to watch
Yeah,
something from, you know what I
start
mean?
to
Not just,
finish.
you know, do they have that going on when it comes to the Genesis 6 video?
Absolutely. It shows before they even punched a hole in the ground, all the way through 5 gallon bucket after rock after 5 gallon bucket, and all the way down to the 14-foot level. They pull out three to four
Would you
hundred,
really do that for us? Would you give us the opportunity to watch that?
10,000%. No,
All right.
they would be happy for you to watch it. Like they they they
I mean,
really did
the
this
thing is,
in good
I don't
meaning.
want to,
I
I
don't
don't
really
find it
like Steve's
reason.
work personally, so I'm going to be the first to say that. You know, when the Nazca mummies came out, Steve made a public statement saying that they were fake, and he had no proof of that, and he was going against his
He
own
does that a
measurement.
lot. He
I
does a
know,
lot.
man.
He does
So,
a lot. That's why I don't
but
like it. He's just,
but truth is he did
he's-
something really good, and I'm not going to disrespect the guy for what he did do. I'm not going to sit here and harp on him. I just am thankful that someone did it, and it's some more evidence that I can add on the pile to what I'm trying to research, and for that I'm very thankful. You know.
I think that that's Eddie. And if you're game for it, I don't know how I'm going to be able to join you. Somehow I can get on. I can't get on Eddie's Discord, but somehow I will figure something out.
Oh, it's easy. I got you. Don't worry.
Or do you have your own Discord channel?
Yeah, I've got my own. Yep.
Because maybe I'll watch it on your Discord channel and do it that way too.
It'll be good. We'll talk about it.
Because I think that would be one hell of a gift, man. And if we could do that, that would
Yeah,
that would
absolutely.
solidify a lot of my questioning about what's going on here. If I could just
Yep.
see them, because the videos that we do have and some that you shared and some of the other stuff that's on TikTok and then on YouTube, it's like, you know, these 2-3 minute videos at best,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go through the process to just verify to prove that they're really digging,
Well, and,
you
and
know.
there's also part of this too is okay. So in Abuelos, for instance, if they can't film a documentary there, the National Guard and the helicopters and stuff. I mean, if you get caught doing this stuff, you're going to jail. Like this is not permitted to do. So the
Well, yeah, but
people
I
that are
thought
out
it,
there,
but isn't there I just read something about the fact that they don't really they think it's just peasants just selling art. They don't think it's
yeah.
legit.
Well, yeah, they don't. But where's their testing to prove their claims? Where's their carbon dating that shows that it's modern? Where's that
Right.
at? They
Well,
don't have anything. They don't have any evidence. And I mean, the reality is for whatever purpose, maybe they don't want to get involved with it. Maybe it touches religious stuff that but hundreds and hundreds of these pieces have been handed over to the INAA from both Abuelos and Tula. And the way that these guys go out and find it in Tula, it's a little bit different. And
and you
you
know
know,
what? Here, you know what? Here's another way we could do this, Mike. All
mm,
you guys, if you want to do this, we can have the viewing here actually through StreamYard. And here's the thing: we can do it, and we can do it privately. It doesn't have to be live.
yeah, whatever's easy.
And
It's
I mean,
4.5 hours, so I have a better way that I'll share with you, but that just to
well,
give it a little bit more comfort and easeability, so people
well,
can
the reason why I
take a
say
bathroom
that
break
is
and stuff.
because you can see the quality of through StreamYard. I know it's better than going
No,
through.
you want the 4K version, or it's actually 2K, but you definitely want the quality version. It's
Yeah, so
10
we
gigabytes.
have I don't have to record it. If you don't want me to record it, I don't have to record it. I don't, it has to, so to do this,
At the end of the day,
basically we
I
can
mean,
use this as like WhatsApp or whatever or What are all the other like live? I'm still losing my mind here. I'm trying to think of 20 different things here. What like Zoom, but not you don't have to record it. So in other words, we could do this on the StreamYard. It won't be live. No one will know about it. Just basically, remember how we before we went live, we were talking and sharing stuff.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it didn't start recording until we went live. So we don't even have to go live to do this. So, and if you want to, for any kind of protection or think that, I would.
No,
And
I think at the bottom of the story here is it's much respected to obviously share some wealth with these guys for doing what they did, but at the same point, for people that have any questions or doubt, like it shouldn't be asked for someone that's questioning their history book to get a good quench of thirst. And I think that they're trying to help people above all that are curious. They're trying to inspire people to go out and ask questions and demand answers. And so anything that would help promote that, I wouldn't see that they would try to stand in front of that, because it's very important for them. They say they're doing God's work, and God's work is unconditional love, meaning you give and there's no condition involved. And so that I mean, we'll just make it happen. It's
yeah,
important for
well,
you to see
anyways,
that.
it's as long as we don't record it, it doesn't matter. We could have a whole
Yeah, I
group
mean,
of people
just
watch.
don't post it up on your YouTube channel. I think that'd probably be good. No.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, but don't worry about being sued. But I would love to watch that. That would just like, I think that would impress a lot of people. Plus, is a lot of it in Spanish as well.
It's
Uh,
all translated really well, so there's definitely parts that are spoken Spanish, but
well,
yeah, I mean, all the
if we have
diggers down
someone
there.
like Eddie with us, then if we'll make sure it's translated properly. You know what I mean? Because he'll be there and he's a straight shooter, so he's got
Yep.
nothing to sell, no dog in the fight. So and
Yeah.
look at that. I mean, so the eyes are like a cross between UFOs, alien eyes, and then you got all those small entities like orbs,
Individually carved.
and yeah, and then are they carved or glued in?
They're glued in there, yeah. Because I think they're different types of stone.
And then what's all the crud around us? Is just
I'm
permanent dirt.
guessing they're glue or dirt that's stuck to the glue.
Hmm. This
This looks
is
like Jupiter here.
so fascinating.
Some interesting, like weird geometries and shapes. That's one thing I noticed is that the technology, like what's he holding there? Is it it reminds me of something off of Star Wars or something. Like is that like a holograph of the planet? You know what I mean? It's quite interesting. Or is he giving birth to that planet? Is this thing a really giant thing? I mean, who knows, right?
Or is it an orb that somehow it's? I mean, UFOs. There's numerous accounts. In fact, I just talked to a guy last night. I don't know if Sasquatch Confession. He's probably not here anymore. But I talked to him. Me and him talked to this guy who saw a UFO, in which a purplish blue orb popped out of it, shot out of it, bounced off the ground, and
Hmm.
then multiple other orbs popped out of the purple orb. So there's lots of accounts of this similar thing happening. So
Yeah, there's likely a connection. All these people aren't just crazy trying to get famous. You know what I mean? There's definitely something more going on here for
and
sure.
well, in this thing, I call myself the 14 digital shaman, and it's the difference today is compared to say 100 years ago or even 50 years ago is we have digital cameras, and so we'll be able to film this stuff uh, more readily. And so basically, instead of having to take these hallucinogenic drugs, we're able to experience and visually see what used to take drugs and rituals and that kind of thing to see these things. Now we have digital cameras, so we don't have to.
Hmm.
No, because it's just it has something to do with this the magnetic spectrum, the light spectrum, and that in which we cannot see normally with our naked eye. Not saying it doesn't happen, because it certainly does happen, but it's more readily accessible through digital cameras.
Yeah.
I got multiple images. I mean, what's next to me, or you can't see right now. I don't know if you can see me. You probably can't. Well, you probably can, but there's an orb right next to me that I filmed. It's bright, brilliant light, So it's not. They're quite easy to film once you know what you're doing. And
Well, the camera is going to pick up dust. So what's really interesting about this is, if you can't see it with, an eye, and it sees it with the camera, that doesn't necessarily mean that the camera's seeing something that you're not. The reflective purpose of this dust. So we actually seen this. We were taking a video of an artifact, and all of a sudden there was these orbs all around, and these pieces are still, there's dirt and dust on them, and so the guy literally, was picking up dust. My encouragement is just try to replicate it like outside, in normal light, and you probably won't see it under any circumstance.
oh no, I filmed it during the day. I get images of that as well, different places.
Interesting. I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, check out my channel. I got lots of images. You look up under the the Bigfoot section.
Because the orbs are definitely a big factor. Like on all these pieces, they're I mean they're everywhere. Here, I'll show you an example. Like,
Well, it's
you can see them playing
consistent,
with it right here.
right? So it's consistent reports going on here. We're doing whenever there's well, it seems to be consistent, but it's quite uncommon, put that way. When you have a Sasquatch encounter, that there will be UFOs and orbs in the area as well. And so, and I've had that personal experience. So, yeah, you can even see some of the Bigfoot and the tree spirits that I've personally filmed. So, and I think Eddie can attest to that. He's seen it himself, so he's seen what I filmed. And so,
I think the being of Bigfoot is likely an interdimensional species, and that's why we don't find, corpses and things of that nature. Yet we do have so many sightings, and it almost seems like they come in and out of existence, altogether.
Absolutely, I know they did. I've
Mhm.
had encounters. I mean, my first encounter was just standing next to a Crow Indian medicine man, and it got 15 feet in front of me. And as it was crawling up the ravine, there was two of them. The one that crawled up to us went through a tree.
Oh
Didn't break a
wow!
branch. Didn't break a branch. Didn't rustle a leaf. And next thing you know, it was on one side of the ravine, and next thing you know, it was crawling up on our side of the ravine and got 15 feet in front of us, and it was massive. And another thing about it, it shimmered like it had energy, electricity running through it. So I think plasma has a big thing to do with this as well. So
I could see that.
it's so fascinating. And I'm thinking that the shamans and the priestcraft of whatever region, and say this region, and there's universal symbology, like the all-seeing eye in the triangles, not uniquely, say, Mesoamerican, or the
Hmm.
Jesuits in Western Europe, or Christian symbology, but you'll find this in Asia, and in Asia Minor, and in the Levant, and all over the place. So and a lot of times people, when they report seeing, the eye or eyes when they're on this, they're tripping out, right? And I imagine this was exactly what the shamans of old were doing, the same thing, right?
Yeah, I think there's definitely correlation. What's crazy is the guy that went down to the Tucson Gem Show, that showed me the very first pieces. He, had given me some DMT. I don't know, 3 or 4 months prior, and it took me forever to try it. I'd never done it before, and finally I was in the music studio, and I used a vape, and I tried this stuff out, and I had an experience where I left my body. I thought I died, and it was absolutely insane. And he explained to me that he had a really insane experience too, where he had seen this Anunnaki being, with this pine cone and all this stuff. And, that's kind of what inspired me to do it. I didn't get anything cool like that. I just got the black of abyss, and I felt like I died. But nonetheless, this this
I
was
can
really
imagine.
important for me because it made me realize that I was more than just a flesh body, and and so the fact that he had this Anunnaki vision, this was before, I mean, this is 2 or 3 years prior than we ever saw any Anunnaki evidence. And in fact, we collected these pieces for over a year and a half before we saw the first somewhat Anunnaki. And it wasn't until just this year that we saw like full force, same specific types of, sun discs and things like that, that the Anunnaki would be depicted as. So it's
Interesting.
strange that that became such a research topic for me, let alone that event happened with him in a DMT thing shortly there before he found these pieces. It's a
Well, this
likely
whole
probably
thing,
just
this
a
whole thing
circumstance or
about winged beings and entities is not that far fetched, and it doesn't necessarily have to. Let's put it this way. The I'm trying to think of it. That who were the ones that gave us the Anunnakis? Because it wasn't Babylon. It was who was it, Eddie?
the Akkadian
Was it the Acadians or was it
or
the?
the Canaanites. I mean, it
No, it
comes
starts with
down through
it starts with an M. It's Macedonia. No, it's not. Is it? It's
Phoenicians.
Macedonia. I can't remember now.
No,
It's just
huh?
lost. I lost my train of thought of where. So my point being, the whole thing is, it doesn't seem like they were the ones who like coined it or were the ones who originated it.
Right. They
It
just depicted
seems,
it.
it was their image. The same thing of entities, kind of shape shifting entities with wings. And there's people filming this stuff too. I mean, I've seen images of things that look like angels.
Hmm.
And then you look at it, then all of a sudden it has like 2 or 3 heads. And their heads almost seem like Bigfoot or something like that, or maybe some people call them demons. I think a lot of times maybe we're calling them demons because they're so horrendous looking to us, frightening looking to us, and because of brainwashing that see the Hollywood and religion and everything that we're told they're all evil. I'm not saying we should mess with any of these things. I think that it's a bad idea to mess with angels, period, whether they think they're good or bad. I think they're a bad idea. I mean, if you
I
just
think
look at
with
it,
anything we have good, and I think good and bad
well,
is
no, if you think
irrelevant.
about it, all the stories and like whenever an angel shows up, something bad's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. It might not be for that person. Mesopotamians, thank you, and the Sumerians, the
There you go.
Samaritans. That's what it is. Thank you. So I just like totally lost my train of thought there. But no, really, it's part of the book I'm writing and you can just, if you really study it, and whenever an angel shows up in the Old Testament, bad things happen
Yeah,
to somebody. Something bad's going to happen. You know what I mean?
and they could have
Whether
been the fallen angels. They might not have even been the real angels that are up in heaven. They might not
well,
even
just
have.
Abraham, that supposedly no one could quite figure out. Some see things as Yahweh or whatever, but there was 3 entities, right? That hung out with Moses. Of course, there's a tree involved, and there's always a tree. If you start studying trees, and I mean
Yep.
literal physical trees and angels, and then they hang out. Abraham comes out of his tent, looks out, and there's these 3 angelic beings hanging out by a tree. He ends up having lunch with them, and then it's like he goes through this diatribe and seeing, are you really going to wipe out this whole city, Sodom, Gomorrah? And it's like, yeah, if they're not doing if they really what reports of what we're told, right, and it's true. So anyways, so what happens is the whole damn city gets wiped out. And
Mhm.
I mean, it gets really weird if you think about it, because then Lot, next thing you know, he's sleeping with his daughters and impregnate them. And it was bad. The whole damn thing turned bad. You know what I mean? And that's
Mhm.
just one of many. If you really study the stories of these angels, weird things happen, man.
Yeah,
Death
I
happens
agree.
at
It's
massive scale. And so this is the thing that leads to this stuff. So you look at a lot of the symbology in these carvings and all that is very skulls, death, the afterlife, skeletons, the rib cage there.
duality.
This whole thing about preparing for the afterlife.
Hmm.
The death's a big thing. Um, and trying to escape this matrix that we live in. And then there's an interaction with these beings. And one of the things I've noticed is from these studies and books I'm reading and what other people are saying about when they have interactions with these UFO or these aliens, that these aliens, they can't seem to get their story straight.
Right.
Like they're lying to us.
Yeah. Well, some of them are, and some of them aren't.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, it's hard to say if you're not the one that's going through it, but I mean, the inconsistencies and
Yeah.
for being, and here's the other thing, they don't seem to be as brilliant as they when you first when people like Whitley Strieber talks about is this how deceptive it all was, right? And how violating they were and how inconsistent their message was that he dealt with. And he's not alone with this. There's the Taken, the book, the ex-doctor Carla, I think that's her name. I can't remember her name. But the same thing happened with her, the people she went through and her clients, and this is how they were just inconsistent messages. And yet there's this thing that something happens, and particularly the people that deal with these. And let's think about the priestcraft or all these different cultures and them interacting with these beings we call angels or demons or spirits or aliens or whatever. And a lot of bad things happen. It always inevitably ends up something incredibly tragic, human sacrifice, cannibalism, drinking blood. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really, there's something really dark about this stuff too. And I think it's important, if this stuff is legit in so many ways, it's the importance not only as historically, archaeologically, but also as kind of maybe helping us understand what we as humanity has been dealing with. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's sure there's, like you brought numerous times, the dualistic nature of the reality that we live in, which when you really think about it, we shouldn't be so happy about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just, that's not necessarily a good thing to be in such a place that's dualistic, you know. You know what I mean? Because it the uncertainty and I was going to go into all sorts of detail, but when you look at this stuff, you see constant skulls, people being born, people having their heads chopped off, hearts being pulled out, orbs, spirits coming out of the hearts. What is the point in all this? A lot of people call this dark magic. Now, there's an article from your website in which that one psychologist, I think she was a psychiatrist, that you're using it for links. I think it was links. It was in. There's an article. If it's in links, maybe you know what I'm talking about. And she went down there by herself in an exhibition. You remember this? And she, and to the diviner guy, and or the dowsing guy, and it started counterclockwise spinning, and they found other stuff. And she talks about how it was very dark. She was experiencing. I mean, she thinks it seemed like people were possessed, and there was dark energy that was going around there, but she fought through it anyway because she wanted to know the truth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
She and
can't have light without dark.
So that's something that really we shouldn't just. I don't think we should just pass. I'm not talking in a religious type thing. I'm not talking like Christian or anything like that, or demons, all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about there's something that's universally going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, even Christianity is a watered down version of it. I mean, it's constantly the images of Jesus holding his heart, literal heart. You know what I mean? And the blood sacrifice, the Eucharist and and the sacrament, and symbolically, representing the eating of the body and the drinking of the blood, and And but it's not originally theirs, you know what I mean? And you talk about, you say, the giants of in the Old Testament, and they've been guilty of that stuff, but it seems everybody was guilty of this stuff back then.
Yeah, Old Kingdom. It was different. Everything was different back then, I think that's just the way it was. Even for the higher beings, the archangels, I think there was still a darker side in the creation story. I think it took many failures before they got it right. I think we are not even perfect yet, but we're the closest thing that they have to getting it right, and we're
Yeah,
still messed up.
yeah, that's true, isn't it?
But
It's-
are we? The balance. That's two things. The scales are depicted on a lot of these pieces with Anubis, especially, and in fact, actual scales have been found. And I think that the balance in nature is very important, and that's what these beings are exemplifying. That's what the pine cone and passing the pine cone of life. They're
so
passing genetic information and passing the knowledge of how to create something from nothing, essentially.
it says
That's,
here,
that's why it says we're created from the dust. Like that might be true.
so that elongated skull that's to your right there,
Mhm.
that went over the other
This
one,
one?
that one. Is that
Mhm.
what's up with that? Is that something you blow in? Is that another one of
Yeah,
those?
it's a whistle. Here, I'll show you.
It's
It just
massive,
says it
and
on
it's
there.
interesting. It's got the elongated skull as well.
Yeah,
And
it
another
weighs
thing I'm
about
noticing
30
here,
pounds.
bro, is there's not very many images, if any, of physical creatures. You know what I mean? There's not, of deer or birds or animals,
Yeah, there is a fair amount. I can
but
show you, but yeah, you're totally right. There's not a lot. And I'm gonna play the
no,
whistle here.
which I find that very interesting. Well, you're pretty good at that, man. That's
Getting
that.
better. Everybody always asks me to play it, so it's definitely a growing
And is
talent.
that stone? Is that what
It
is that
is.
made of? Stone.
Yeah, it's solid stone. You can
Okay,
see the
so
rock.
if it, even if it's okay, let's just go with this and just say it's clay polymer or plastic polymers. It's still impressive that you're able to get those
The
kind of tones
tone.
out of. Yeah,
Yeah.
but if it
No, it's
is
a
stone,
stone. I can throw it on a scale. Like,
if it's stone, it's even more impressive. And then I have to ask the question: how the hell do they carve all that out if it's stone?
yeah.
Honestly, if you don't mind going back to that skull for a second,
Yep. No, no, for sure.
and if we could look at it and inside it, if inside it, how hollow it is, how would they possibly hollow out stone like that?
Yeah.
We couldn't do that today. There's not a technology in the world that we could do that
I,
as stone.
I've never seen it. I mean, I think they would sell like hotcakes if you could sell this. As a whistle. I mean, even if it was made modern, I mean, and it sounded like this, people would pay hundreds of dollars. I
Now,
promise you.
have you found and looked and seen online if there are ones made out of polymers, plastic,
I
or
have.
clay?
I've looked for whistle. I mean, I'm a musician as well, and I've collected carvings. So this type of stuff was always really fascinating to me. Um, but I never seen nothing like any of these. I mean, and everything's so unique.
Now,
The
when I was in
detail.
Portugal, you could get pens that are made out of this polymer clay, so like that. You know what I mean? Like it's like how you like your big pens and the
Yep.
plastic covering, and then there's the ink cartridge that's inside it. Where you can shove you replace the plastic outer shell with the clay polymer, and they make these really cool designs. They're cool, but they're nothing close to this. Not
Yeah.
even a million times close to it. So I mean, this is just, if it is, you say it's just modern day technology and materials. It's still, whoever made that skull
Yeah.
that you can blow and make this kind of. they should be recognized for their talent.
Right?
I'm not kidding. I mean,
No,
the
I'm
art.
with you
I mean, it
10,000%. I
might
mean,
be dark looking, and not
I
necessarily something I want in my house, but it's same token. You know what I mean? It's like, geez, I mean, to put that
yeah.
kind of energy to make that.
I've
Okay.
collected rocks and mineral specimens and carvings for many years, and I mean I'm deep into this now because of it. You know, like I knew for a fact that this stuff was not something that you could just easily produce, let alone that each piece was so original and unique down to the little things like these beads. I mean, who's gonna spend that time, to get I mean the
A dedicated artist would, but the problem
sure.
is, and maybe there is some kind of underground factory of these making this stuff. I have no idea.
But why
But
would
if
they not make duplicates? And so check this too. Obviously that thing that you read earlier with the UV and why that no one knew that they glowed or advertised that as a sale. But also the fact too is I've asked them for pine cones. Like the pine cones that they hold are very rare. We've only found maybe 20 of them. And they found a whole bunch at one time in this cave. I thought they were going to be a common item, so I sold a few of them, and then people started trying to buy them. And I've asked and asked and asked, hey, if you see any of these, I've got people really wanting them. If they were making them, they would, I guarantee it, have it by now in my hands, and I cannot get them. So that sort of thing too. You can't just be like, oh, I want some scarabs, and then magically scarabs appear. Like it's not like that. You get what you get, and the randomness is a 10 out of 10. I mean, everything like you see here is completely original. No similarities at all on any of these pieces, really.
I've seen different quality of artwork. Some is very, very primitive. This
Well,
stuff,
some's made in Awelos and some is made in Tula, and the time change and what they're writing down is something that we still have yet to determine fully. But I think that might have some of the difference. And what you see like in front of you right now is all this stuff here is from Awelos, and it's a lighter. It's not as dark. The stuff from Tula seems darker.
yes,
Like this sort of stuff here out of this type of stone, all this, this guy here, all of those are all from Tula, and it's much darker. But what's crazy is
it is, and
you look at the depictions here and what it's showing, and I'm telling you, it's the exact same story depicted much differently, but also it's the same. So the fact that they would put the same characters, Anubis and Sobek and Thoth and all these things is just it's too much to think that they coordinated this together 800 miles apart and came up with such radically different concepts and techniques, but yet depicted the same story. I mean, why would they encroach on each other's story? If you know what I mean, it would
unless
be
we're dealing with an
redundant.
ancient an ancient empire, a very
Well, that's
vast.
that's just it.
It's
It's pre-flood. I mean, this is the civilization that was before Adam, before humans ever set foot on this planet. As you notice, none of these are humans.
is this the true Atlantis that they've always been looking for?
Well,
Because
I think that,
people
that these are
argue that
Atlanteans. These beings are Atlanteans, but I'm not sure if it's depicted the city or anything of that nature yet. I haven't seen anything of those depictions. But Thoth and his story, and if you read the Emerald Tablets and what it says there, I think that there's absolutely relevance here on a major level.
look at that turtle there too. I mean, look at that. Is that it? Cannot is that pure stone? Seriously?
Yeah, and it's a mosaic. You can see it's all different stones cut and then carved upon. So you have to
The
imagine,
heck?
okay, I'm going to cut all these stones out. I'm going to then glue them all together, let them set, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to etch all these carvings on top of it and not mess up. Because if I mess up, all that gluing, all that cutting, and all that polishing was worthless.
So okay, so then this brings up the question. So you've heard of geopolymer, right?
Mhm.
Geopolymerization, and the argument that a lot of these ancient megalithic structures were created by that process in which somehow they ground or turned the stone into a liquid or
A
a
liquid.
powder,
Yep.
and then use the mold to make these massive bricks, and that's how they're able to move them and to make them fit perfectly, right? If
Mhm.
there's any truth to any of that, then if they had that technology to do that back then, why couldn't they use it for their artwork?
Exactly.
That's what I'm thinking.
No,
I mean,
100%.
I
If they
mean, it
were the
reminds
masters of
me.
making walls like that and stone things like that, they could absolutely do this.
So then it would make all the sense in the world why we're looking at this stuff, because it's uh, if they basically turn it in a type of what we call today we clay polymers, but it was stone polymers, and somehow they turned it into uh, basically like we play today with clay or clay or Play-Doh. Play-Doh's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Uh, and then somehow harden it. How they go about doing that, I don't know.
With
Um,
alchemy, with magic, they use the light. So the
well,
picture of what the pyramids were for, they depict in many cases what the pyramids were doing. And they were transmitting light or bringing in light. And you can see here it's bringing it in. And on the top of this box here, you've got Poseidon or some sort of aquatic being. If you look at his fin down there as his feet, he's
uh-huh.
holding a trident, and this would be the father of Kronos, or I believe it's Neptune, in the
And
Greek.
then it reminds me of Lovecraft and his stuff, and the
Oh
remember that
yeah,
creature.
imagination comes from somewhere.
Yeah, when it's not very original. Number when you
But
finally realize you don't never had an original thought in your life, you just we're just recycling what our ancestors were thinking as well. We're just building upon their memories,
Mhm. my
and just probably a better way of saying that, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
my theory is that all these pieces are made, even like these type of pieces here, the stones that are used to make this mosaic are all rich in calcite and quartz. And I think that what we're seeing in those depictions of pyramids and others is that the light is being transmitted from these pyramids, and it might give some sort of effect to these crystals. And you always hear about crystals and stuff like that being on the top of scepters of magicians and things, in the old like Merlin type, whatever those type of books, I guess you want to call them. Anyways, I think that's where that stems from, and I think that this type of magic could have absolutely been the case. I mean, you got to ask yourself, 10,000 years ago, how on earth, without this light, they know that this glowed like that? The sun does not go down fast enough for it to leave this stuff radiant into the night. I mean, they just don't last that long. And so something had to have been charging these objects for them to see it.
No, if you tried that with a T-shirt, there's a lot of T-shirts. You go to a haunted house or some nightclub with black lights, and there
Yeah.
was lights light up. Now, but does um, if you turn the black lights off, does it sustain itself like it's doing now?
Yeah, the light's off now. You can see it's
No,
still
I'm talking
here.
about shirts. Have you ever tried that compared with shirts?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it will hold itself because I know there is stuff that does do that. I mean,
There
we
are
do
there's
we have
materials
stuff
and
today
things.
that we have glow sticks and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and
Even this
things.
table right here. This table has a glow. Look. What's interesting about marble and these materials is they have phosphorescence because of the calcite in them. Same with concrete, you'll find it be phosphorescent sometimes. And
Right.
it all falls back to these crystals and this light. And so if this pyramid was bringing in and redirecting light, they found in the king's chamber or the queen's chamber there, one of the two, in the great pyramid, this dust and this residue all over in this chamber. And they think that it was the byproduct of creating hydrogen. Well, how on earth did you get hydrogen to create inside of a pyramid? Unless this thing was an active machine at one point and it was actually doing something. And I think that's exactly what the case was. And it was sending out an energy that was giving these items the ability. I mean, they might have lit up just naturally, or it could be that these angels had this halo of light. You hear about the halo all the time. It's possible that they may have lit these objects up as well, but it's really bizarre to me to think that there would have been an angel around all the time to light these items up. And so how they did that, maybe this pyramid was giving them light in the evening, even by dispersing this, and then they use these as lamps and other sorts of I don't know, but it's there had to have been a purpose. You don't just put that much effort into something and then not even try to sell it. You know,
Well,
I mean, this is intricate detail, man. Like, what the heck, I don't know.
I don't know either, man. I mean, I can only imagine because and you must be scratching your head on a constant basis because the calcite is used commonly for faux, what they call faux is what it is when they want to make that faux like marbling kind of effect
Hmm.
and paints and uh, clay polymers and stuff like that, and you can have that kind of effect. But the thing is, I've been looking to see if anybody's doing anything quite like this. That is, man-made. That's artisans.
Right.
The different websites out there.
It's not out there.
It's not out there. That's the thing. There are
No.
crystal skulls out there, but those crystal skulls quite look like that one there, and
No.
that big.
No.
You can buy synthetic crystal skulls, but I mean, I mean,
You take like this piece,
I'm
for
looking at the
example.
top. Yeah, look at that. I mean,
That's a
that
piece of quartz and jasper, and the inside of it, underneath the head down here, it's drilled out and bored out, and up inside of the brain in there is a quartz geode that you can visibly see. Like, why would they bore that thing out? Oh my gosh, I'm dropping stuff.
so yeah,
You got to hold your breath,
sure, man. This
A
stuff
lot
is
of
pretty
breakables.
expensive. So if you, hey, I guess one of the questions are, have you made any money selling this stuff? How about this? Have you recouped much of your money back from investing in this?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely spent more than I've made. I'll tell you that much. But I definitely have sold quite a few pieces, and I've met a lot of really good people and met a lot of really good connections who have also been able to emphasize their energy and forth coming into this. So I feel it's
Is
really
there
been
any
a
way?
good thing there.
Is there any way that you could introduce us to some of your comrades in this venture?
I mean, as far as, are you talking about people down in Mexico or?
I'm talking about vendors. I'm talking about collectors. I'm talking about people that are involved in this along with you. Um, would you be any willing to do that?
I
Because
created the first thing I did. I wanted this more than anything is to be able to get us all together, and I created a group in Facebook when this first started, and it caused a lot of drama because there's a lot of you know. We'll just say there's a lot of money and stuff involved with this. It's not cheap to go out and get these pieces. It's not cheap to ship them. They break. There's people that get upset. It's a lot of love that is invested in order to get these pieces to where they're going to go. And so that's, I think, where it came in to be the biggest issue. It was like babysitting this group, and so there's that part of it that's an issue. There's about 20 of us collectors that all got together down in Vegas at the Stairway of the Stars. And I think you'll see more of this in the future. But a lot of people that are involved with this, a lot of the collectors don't want their names to be out there. They don't put this on social media because of the possible whatever. I'm kind of out on a limb. There's me and another guy named Geo Aliens. I will introduce you to him. He's a good friend of mine and a business partner. And he's got a collection that's just as large or larger than mine, and does the exact same thing on a different level, but a collector and a passionate person for the truth. And
well, the
it's
reason I asked this is because I'm fascinated to get to know you guys and to get to you're a different breed altogether of human being. I mean, which I appreciate the fact that you're walking your own path and doing your own thing, and it's a little different than everyone else's. I admire that. You know what I mean?
absolutely
And I truly do. I
appreciate
mean,
that.
individuality is a rare thing these days, and so and it's just such a small group of you guys, and then, but I mean, I don't want to cut into any kind of competition, cause problems, but I think get to know you guys a little bit better, and then what's going on down there, and trying to figure this out. I
Yep.
mean, honestly, I've been looking at that. There's something that's getting in the way that's keeping people from going to the next level of like just verifying this stuff. It could be simply governments. It could be maybe it's the powers to be. Maybe there's the spirits to be.
World
That
War
don't
II is
want this
kind of
stuff.
a
But
I was say World War II is kind of a crazy thing, and if you look into it deeply, obviously there's a lot of still unknowns and a lot of conspiracy regarding, what Adolf Hitler was doing and why the Holocaust occurred, etc. And I'm not going to go too deep on this topic because it's sensitive, but at the same point, there's a lot of research and stuff that is around this regarding Adolf Hitler's fascination with UFOs specifically, and even into his technological developments of things that could possibly develop interdimensional and or anti-gravitational flight. And so for those purposes, and as well as he was chasing after a white race of Aryans, and this story of this Aryan race, it could actually go back to the original angels and the beings that were created after Adam, but before you have Noah and Abraham and stuff that really started to produce and reproduce, I should say. Abraham's the father of many sons. There's a song about it, and I believe that he was down the line from Adam. I mean, all these people are all bloodline of Adam. Moses, Noah, they're all down the line. Enoch was 8 generations down. I think Noah was like 14 generations down, and this is all the genesis or the watering down of the angel crossed with the Adamu to get to where we are. And so I think that a lot of these things that you're seeing are, that period of time where there was still a lot of experiments and those type of things.
we're not talking that far back in the past. We're only talking like 10,000 years. 10,
Yeah.
well, 12,000. It all depends on who you talk to, but it's anywhere from 10 to 12,000 years. The last major cataclysmic event that
Younger Dryas period and area around it. Yeah. Why the
right.
ice age occurred. There's a lot of different things with the glaciers moving and the pole shift. If you look at the temples like Teotihuacan down there, that big pyramid complex in Mexico, and you look at the Temple of Apollo, and you look at how they're aligned with the compass, they're 22 and a half degrees clockwise off from north, south, east, and west. But if you go to almost every other monument on the planet that's of major stature, like the Great Pyramids and stuff like that, you'll find that they're all aligned with the compass north, south, east, west, except these couple. And I believe that these couple actually predate the pole shift, and that's why they're at a different alignment. And so
Yeah.
that would make sense logically, and what hit this earth, the story of the Anunnakis. If you look into Zachariah Stitchin's work, which I don't take too much into consideration as a fact, but I think there's a lot of very valid information in there. And there's the story of Marduk, who is the son of Enki, who went and split this planet in half, Ishtar, I believe. And they believe that that's where Venus's atmosphere got messed up. That's where the asteroid belt came from, and that's even where our moon possibly originated from, was the aftermath of this planet that was in our solar system that was split in half.
There's a lot of things we're split in half in this creation. We
Yeah.
look at the two hemispheres of our brain,
Uh-huh.
human body itself, and the two hemispheres of this planet, and on it goes. So the dualistic nature of this is very cultic, And here's another thing I've been thinking about too. It's like this stuff really started popping up and showing up sometime around the two world wars, right?
Mhm.
Some of us call that
Well,
the
yeah, the
last
30s is when the Sphinx was unburied.
right, and so there's it's all part of the some of us call it the last great 30-year war, because they have a tendency to have these wars that last 30 years for some reason.
Mhm.
Anyways, but the thing is, what seems to be a correlation is that whenever they have these major wars, which are another way of having causing mass trauma, human sacrifice, that um, you know that new technology shows up. Now, maybe it's simply because of the nature of war itself that requires to invent new things to beat your enemy, or maybe these things are the occult. Those are in line with this stuff that really know how things operate, whether it's the monarchies, it's the people that really run this place. The people that really run this place are not the
Right.
governments, and
No,
not the
they're the kings.
and it's not even the kings.
Well,
I think
yeah,
and it's not
not
even the
human
monarchy.
ones. Yeah.
No, I think there's a group of people that understand the esoteric nature of this world, the hidden ways, and they are the ones that have been running this. And they're people that you'll never know, you're never going to hear about, and because they're clever enough to keep you from ever knowing about them. And if they get too
They're
popular,
advanced intelligence. They're not even humans. They're the angels. They're the fallen. They're the ones controlling 2/3 of this world with their deception and misinformation. And that's why we have fake news and why we have so much political rivalry in this world. And it's so divided because they're utilizing that as a statistic to put us against each other, to spite what this whole project was about, was to gain the wisdom. And I think that that's where we're seeing this. If you, I don't know if you're familiar with the interview that Tucker Carlson gave here a couple nights ago. I'm not a huge Tucker Carlson, watcher, but I saw this one, and he specifically said that the government had a deal brokered up with these aliens. And it's really quite interesting to think that it's very plausible that they do, because the whole Roswell crash, the down in southern America, Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, they went through in the 1930s, and they put concrete in a lot of the caves and sealed up a lot of the holes down there. And also, this was around the same time that the Grand Canyon as well had. I don't know if you're familiar with the gentleman Kincaid there. He brought out this research that said he found an entire complex in the Grand Canyon that had giants and sarcophagus and weird
sure,
symbols that resembled Egypt. And then the Smithsonian came in, and he was never heard from again. Go figure.
yeah. Well, here's the thing, like, so we look at the cult, how it works, that the secret societies, the true mystery school that runs this place. Then
Hmm.
you have guys like Aleister Crowley or Madame Blavatsky or whoever, and they get too popular. They open their mouth a little too much, and they get thrown under the bus. And so, and they're perfectly happy throwing them under the bus because they're exposing things too much and causing too
Hmm.
many. Because the fact is, it's the John Dees of the world that run this world. It's not the presidents. It's not
Yeah.
the
It's the
Pope.
Rockefellers and
It's not even the Rockefellers.
Rothschilds.
I
Rothschilds, Rockefeller, like those type of people are definitely making significant impacts to our society. Like
but
like
I
for
argue
instance
that's
with the
not
school
even
system.
them. I argue that's not even them. It's though they hobnob with the Rockefellers and the presidents and whoever it may, princes and kings and
Hmm.
etc. They're the people that you will never know their names. They're
Yeah.
smart enough to never be in the limelight and never to. In fact, it's very quite necessary for them to just be hiding in the shadows.
Hmm.
And I know it's not a very satisfactory answer that people want to hear, and people say, "Well, that's being lazy or little." But no, I mean, if I was one of them, and I knew the truth, and I knew what the responsibilities were entailed and what it may mean, I probably would be keeping my mouth shut too. I wouldn't be letting anybody except very select group of people know who I actually am because
Right.
of the human nature. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
know.
that's why I'm not showing my face here tonight.
I was going to ask you that. Why don't you not ever show your face?
You just answered that. Yeah, I mean, it's not really a good time for that. I'm writing a book, and at that time I'll probably come out, of the closet. But I definitely wanted to make sure that I had this documented well enough that it wasn't going anywhere, even if I was removed. Because, um, yeah.
I'm not in your position, so but you sound like you have a little more in your journey to go. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. Yes, for me. Um,
No, and I'm not
but
super worried
but I
about it, but
understand
I've
why
heard
you know.
things, you know?
No, I mean I paid the price for being a public figure. You know, I used to have thousands of subs. I used to be. I mean, I know people, but I decided to, was it worth it to be in the group or to open my mouth and save some lives? I decided to do the latter, to live, because I had to
Yeah,
live with my conscience. You know what I mean? But I had to pay the
absolutely.
price for it, and I'm profoundly isolated because of
Yeah.
it.
We get knocked down, we get back up, right?
Yeah, but,
I'm not gonna let them do that shit. I mean, yeah,
well,
you gotta stand up.
you start to realize what priorities, what your real priorities are, and what really matters. And
Hmm.
what really matters is, can you live with yourself?
Yeah.
For me, at least, can I
Yeah.
live
Or are
with
you gonna be
myself?
happy when you close your eyes and blast off into some other place? Like, did you do what you needed to do? Did you do it
Right.
right? Did you half-ass it? You know?
You know, we know when your last breath, you're near your last breath, you're going to have any regrets that you could have done things a little bit. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about the physical. There's always, we could have done things and could wish we could have done this and that. I'm talking about in your last breath. Is there no regrets? You do. Is there no guilt?
Hmm.
You're at peace, and I think that's for in my life right now. That's what's more important. But when if I was younger, I wouldn't be saying that at all. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
I'd
Well,
be
it
thinking,
takes time to get the wisdom. You know, the wisdom is earned, and gosh, that's the truth. You
well,
know,
that's so interesting. Why would they use that? They make these telescopes here, and I'm
hmm
trying to think of the logic behind it. And I mean, maybe they're able. I mean, Saturn and Jupiter seem to be the big ones for the boys. I don't see anything about Mars. You think Mars would be really sticking out,
hmm
um, but that's not. So Saturn and Jupiter, and of course, there's a cult
The
war
thing
between
is
those.
Mars might be sticking out, but we just don't know that it's Mars because it's just a little sphere. I mean, there's nothing that makes it stand out like Jupiter or Saturn. You know what I mean?
Unless with these, a lot of these, I know there's a couple of those designs where they have like a larger sphere than smaller ones. That
Hmm.
maybe because in the southern horizon at night, the one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb is Mars.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? And I get some
and
amazing
Venus.
images. And by the way, I get some amazing images of the entities that I filmed with my P900 in Mars with cone heads. I love to.
Interesting.
Someday I'll share it with you. I've been sharing, or you can look. You can see, find it on my YouTube channel. You have to
Yeah,
go. You have to go through an endless amount of videos to find it. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm dead
I'll
serious
show
about
you
it.
something here regarding cone
In
heads.
fact, it's going to be in my book because it's actually where I've stuck. Talk about writer's block. I'm at first 100 pages, then I'm right. This is point and me filming the stuff in the stars. I'm like, how do I share this with people? I just got through telling people that I've had major encounters with you, with Bigfoot. And who's gonna believe my story? I just don't. I don't even know why I'm doing it. To be honest with you, but I'm doing it.
It's important, man. It's super important that we all try to create something and we all try to document what we're experiencing because it's we don't know what's going to be important 200 years from now, and that's the reality of the situation. So it's super valuable, especially with how easy things are to document these days. I think that it's absolutely worth it to try to stick something at it. And
Well,
writer's
what
block
I
for me has been a trick too, and I'll give you a little trick of something that has helped me in this. And something I did was just kind of veered off course, and I brought someone in and interviewed them, one of the guys that sells the pieces down there, and I brought in someone else's words into my book, and I think that really opened up a whole bunch of new pathways that got me writing again, and now we're almost finished, and so I just figured I'd share that.
how many words are you into it?
Gosh, I think we're about 58,000 words or something like that.
That's good, man. That's
It,
excellent.
it it should be with the
Let's,
picture. It's going to be a lot of photos. I'm a photographer,
the,
so like all of this, these metal pictures and everything. I print all these, and so it's definitely something that we're going to have a lot of pictures that go along with the story, and I think that's going to be um, really
well,
crucial
that's
to the story.
so that's the big part of mine. They say you need about a 70,000. to 100,000 words for a publisher to seriously think about what you're doing. And then,
Yep.
but the thing is, the real one I want to focus on after I'm done writing is I have hundreds of images of different spirits that I'm filming in the trees and in the sky. And it's not pareidolia, brother. It's not. And all you have to do is, if you see something, go watch the show that me and Bernie did on my channel last
Oh.
Friday, and you'll see lots of my images because they're in the background. And that's because the only thing that's different between me and others is I decided to aim my camera up at the trees. So look at that one. Look at that.
It's like a monkey,
Now,
I think.
no, but there's also the legend of in that area of a hairy humanoid. It's not quite. Oh yeah, it is a monkey, isn't it? It is a
Yeah.
monkey. There you go.
You got
Yeah.
a tail at
But
least.
where's but there's no monkeys in that area.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely strange. It
Maybe
definitely had a little bit more hominid look
unless
to it too.
they were trading them or from South America and brought them
Could
up
be.
there.
Yeah.
And what's that? That's a looks like
A
type of
cat or a jaguar, maybe.
jaguar.
Jaguar is like a pretty
Puma.
common piece, or pretty common thing depicted on these pieces.
I don't know what happened. Eddie was quite quiet. I don't know. He's probably like, "What the hell? What am I just?"
Yeah, we lost him. No, it's been a couple hours. I think I'm gonna probably have to get off here
No,
soon and
we have to
go
end
take
it.
care of the family. So
Enjoy your holidays, but I want to talk to you more, Mike, and I want to
yeah,
pick your
I want to
brain
say
more.
too. We'll be live tomorrow.
We're only getting to close to the surface. We didn't even because we got to start talking about these the
Yep.
rituals and ceremonies that are probably they're connected to this stuff one way or the other, and the magic behind it, whether the black or the white, and once again dualistic in nature and everything, and I mean, there's a lot of high strangeness and reportedly and in Mexico. So
Oh yeah. No, we got questions to ask. It's gonna be good. Tomorrow I'll be live on our TikTok at 10:30 Pacific time.
I'll
Feel
give you a
free to
shout and
drop
say
by,
hi.
man, because yeah, I'm gonna be giving away a bunch of prints and carvings
Well,
and all kinds of
you
stuff.
don't actually have people in the box though on TikTok though,
What do you
do
mean?
you? Do you have people in the box with you?
Oh, I can. I mean, I don't normally do that, but it's
Uh,
just because it makes the screen lesser quality. But
yeah. I mean,
um,
I'll wave and say hi to you, but definitely I'll
yeah,
do that.
no
But
problem,
I don't
Anderson.
know what happened to Burn Eye. I mean, he said he was going to be. He must be stuck doing his. He must have
Probably
to do his
snow.
life. But this is excellent. This will be posted on other channels, and so don't be
Cool.
dismayed if you see the numbers on
Hey man,
YouTube.
I don't pay
So
attention to numbers.
it'll be
It's
on
all about the content.
Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, BitChute. So actually, the real numbers I get are actually on BitChute, even though they're a main group of people. My God, you got to turn off the comments in BitChute. It's all nothing. It's just one insult after another. But get that secret find. Murder mystery lover. Hey, Mike. I lost internet connection. It's me, Eddie. Hey, Eddie. It's okay, man. We're about ready to end. It's been 2.5 hours. Thank you for joining. I really wanted you to share a little bit of your insight about, because he's like I said, he's from down there, southern Texas, and he does. This is people, as he said, and I really wanted to join us, but we'll have
Yeah.
to make
We
sure to
could do it
keep
again
it.
someday.
Yeah,
I'm
and
down anytime, man. I mean, I love talking about this
so
stuff. And
what else is next for you as far as this? Anybody that hears this in the future, contacts what to do.
my
Anything.
plan is just to try to spread awareness. I'm writing a book, and I'm going to try to show up at a lot of the different disclosure events and UFO events, different types of things like that, to hopefully speak and to help promote this book and this topic in general. And yeah, we're just going to keep researching. Obviously, we're these tests that we get before the end of the year. That's going to dictate where our course goes big time and where we go next. So it might be for DNA testing and that sort of stuff. It might be, you know, Who knows?
Well, let me ask you this before you close, and this is where I want us to lead. And maybe next time we get together, we might be a while. This is very important. What I'm going to talk to you. The first thing I wanted to bring up: paranormal experiences. Have you had any weird events or strangeness since you've been interacting with these things or having these things in your house?
Not not really, no. I had weird energy feeling, and it didn't just happen to me. It was my mom and my wife as well. With no placebo inhibited. I try to keep that sort of stuff on the down low because I'm not trying to freak them out. Well, the fact they both mentioned something that they had to go sit down and get away from the pieces was really odd. I
Like
think when they're fresh
apparitions?
out of the ground and they're still fresh, that there's certain things about them. There's emanating energy, and I feel that once I've had them now, like me being in here now, I don't feel that energy anymore. But it seems like when new ones come, that has potential effect. But I'll tell you what, I've got a few stories that are going to be in the book of people I've interviewed and people that work with these things and pull them out of the ground. And yeah, there's some real crazy stories.
Because I have a
So.
hard time believing that there would not be experiences with apparitions and other beings showing up, just like kind of like this kind of skinwalker type of.
I grow cannabis for a living, and I smoke a fair amount of hash every day, and I feel that it affects my sleep, and this has something to do with the
But
pineal gland
dude, you
once
have an
again.
immense amount of energy for a dude that smokes a lot of.
Yeah, well,
Seriously,
I've got
honestly.
ADHD really, really bad, and I fought it growing up, and cannabis was the thing I found that really was good for me, but it
Oh
wasn't every
yeah.
strain. I had to be really specific, and so I ended up started growing it, and
What do you
um,
use? What is there anything in particular?
GMO cookies is probably my favorite. A lot of Chem Dog and Diesel, OG Kush crosses, stuff like that. Cookies, those are the ones. And I
You're gonna have
found
to hook
out
me up,
it.
man. If you
It.
if you if you have that kind of energy, man, I have multiple sclerosis, so
Oh,
this is
okay.
like the best thing for my MS is actually um, the good stuff from the ground.
It's
So,
true
but
medicine.
I
I
haven't
think there's
touched it in
something.
a while.
Something to do with that pineal gland to where these negative apparitions, these demons, they act just like nightmares and bad trips, and if you cleanse the area and you cleanse the gland, I believe you can possibly circumvent that if that is a real thing. And I have a hard time buying into that stuff, but at the same point, on a scientific level of testing and R&D, I almost have an accurate result of saying that this is a probability. So.
All right. Well, I just, if you have this kind of stuff and it is connected with the occult of the past and with the priestcraft, and he just dropped off, it's probably time for him to go. So, if he doesn't join us again, thanks, Mike. And yeah, this whole thing about the connection with the supernatural, if you will, the spirit realm. I just have, if it is connected to the priestcraft, I have a hard time it not having manifestations happen one way or the other. Whether they're orbs, spirits, Bigfoot, aliens, apparitions, just strange things happen. I just have a hard time believing that would not happen if it's the real deal. So, anyways, Mike dropped off. He's probably had enough. And anyways, we went 2.5 hours. Once again, let's just go in to share the. This is his stuff. I'm not going to try to reach and try to get him again because he's been with us for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Actually, he's been with us or with me for almost 3 hours. So, uh, um, once again, it's alien carvings. You can see him. He said every Saturday night he has a show. I think he said it was like 10 p.m. Eastern. Is that what it is? Something like that on TikTok. And he has thousands of followers, a lot of followers on TikTok. And yeah, I wanted to talk to more about the spiritual and the cult side of things because I mean, like once again, being redundant here, but if it really did come from the priestcraft, from temples, and from people who are interacting with the of parallel universes and dimensions, and then there just seems to be a tendency that stuff lingers. You know what I mean? It lingers, and it can be passed on. there's this whole idea of objects holding on to this memory. Some people say they can even be possessed. I'm not quite sure if that's really the case, but regardless, weird things happen. So, and that's my experience. So, and I'm tired myself. But so, Eddie, thank you for joining. I'm not surprised that Bernie didn't show up. He said he was going to, but that's Bernie. He's not like, doesn't have to. Mike for Alien Carvings, thank you for being part of it, the journey. And I guess the next guest I'm going to have, just to let anybody know who's still here or will hear this, probably Mike Patterson from Ontario Sasquatch. He's coming back to talk about his experiences. He posted an image of his as a Nefertia of Bigfoot, and at the same time, synchronistically, the last time I filmed one on the 15th of May of this year, and I want to talk to him about that and compare notes, compare what his looks like compared to one that I filmed, because the adult one that I filmed had that oily black skin as well, and although mine is not as clear as his, and people are going to say that it's a mask, but until that mask is replicated some way or another, you're just assuming things. So I think give Mike the benefit of the doubt, and that's what I say. I don't see the benefit of the man using the story that he's been using and talking about it for almost 2 decades. And is it almost 2 decades? At least a decade and a half. Well over a dozen years, and get nothing but grief from it. And so I want to talk to him about that. So anyways, with that, we will end this with some music, maybe, or maybe some more I am so tired. I am so freaking tired. Okay. Alien artifacts. If we get off alien artifacts, well, it would be a good thing to let's watch this.
Ancient right there. Okay, so beneath that will be all the discoveries that we're looking for. ¿Tú qué piensas que hay aquí? They think it's tombs. So if it's tombs, we're so close to the capital that they have to be royalty and aristocracy.
We start in 2022 on land that bordered the sacred site of the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl in Tula, Hidalgo, Mexico. Permission of the private land to do some work was given. Digging for the Gen 6 documentary Gen 6 Expeditions was underway. After finding this ancient floor, a year passed by, and one of the team from the original dig decided to continue and find out what they found. Arturo Hernandez has continued digging, and bless him for it. He has proven us all wrong. There will be a documentary released in the near future on this topic. A debut will be announced at the Stairway to the Stars event in Las Vegas in November. We hope to see you there. After months of backbreaking work, 5-gallon pail after 5-gallon pail, blood, sweat, and tears were given to share with us the truth. Now we see the writing on the walls, the same carvings and depictions on the hundreds of stone pieces we document from the area. These farmers did not lie when they till their fields they would find treasure. What was being sold at the corner markets was indeed 10,000-year-old ancient artifacts coming from Mexico. The dates could go back much further, As research continues to understand what we have found, the picture will become clear. Angels, aliens, Egypt, the Bible, Anunnaki, Native American, Mayan, and other cultures from all over the world can connect and reunite in ways we never saw possible. Now is the time to take note and study hard as our future and past remain in the fog. Our passion and logic prevailing over even our own self-destruction is the definition of human faith. Seeing it on the ancient bedrock was the nail in the coffin for us. I don't see this being a hoax, and nor will you when you see it in its entirety. We thank you for watching, sharing, and helping get the word to the people of this massive underscore in the books of human history. Please visit our website aliencarvings.com and sign up on our mailing list. Catch us live every Saturday night at 11:30 p.m. PST on TikTok. We have a book highlighting the story every step of the way we will be releasing summer of 2024.
¿Listo? ¿Sí puedes llevar? Sí.